Sammy J.
Jan's in Barwon Heads.
Sammy, hi. Look, I'm just driving to work.
Yeah.
GIF is pronounced GIF.
What?
As in giraffe.
It's a
Yes.
GIF.
Well, actually, the gentleman who created them won an auspicious award, and his acceptance speech was simply, it's pronounced GIF.
Oh, I've got to revisit everything I even thought I knew, Jan. You drive safely.
Thanks, Sammy.
Thank you, Gan.
Breakfast with Sammy J. Weekdays from 5:30 on ABC Radio Melbourne.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Since round 4, these two teams have been first or second on the AFL table. It's long been the best game in footy throughout season 2021. And tonight we get it. But again, we lament the fact that there's just not enough people in to see it. There is rain coming down at the Melbourne Cricket Ground and hitting the empty seats again during Melbourne's 5th lockdown. There's nobody here in terms of a crowd. The same time that these two teams met earlier in the year, or the last time they met this season, Melbourne by 28 points at Docklands. It was also during lockdown. No crowd that night. Melbourne kicking 6 goals to 2 in the opening quarter to break it open. Tonight, the Demons on top of the table, 13.5 wins. They're 2 points ahead of the Western Bulldogs, who currently sit second. Corbin Middlemass in commentary alongside Andrew Mays. Maisie, it was the game we're hanging out for all weekend. It's finally here, the D's and the Dogs.
Yeah, and a bit of rain to add to proceedings tonight as well. So a particularly tall forward line for the Dogs from selection. So I'm fascinated to see how they match up and whether they can go one step better against the D's, who had the wood over them earlier in the year.
No late change for Melbourne. One change from the side that drew with Hawthorn last Saturday night. James Harms back from his ear infection, and Vandenberg is the man who misses out. Meanwhile, for the Western Bulldogs, you mentioned the changes. Crozier, Dunkley and McNeil are the three who come out from the side that beat the Gold Coast last Saturday. The ins, Liberatore and Hannon both back, and Josh Shackey earns a recall on a wet night at the MCG. Our number one picks on Grandstand AFL every Saturday night, Brett Delidio and Brendan Goddard. Evening, Lids.
Hello, Corby. Good to be here. It's, as you said, Maisie, interesting that they've gone for the tall lineup considering how damp it's just got recently. So it will be very interesting to see how that plays out. We know how good Melbourne are at defending the tall forward lines. So it's a bit of a toss of the coin, though, for me. I think the Dogs will be pretty keen to get one back on the D's after the last one. And the D's are just starting to really, some questions being asked. Are they being the best? Are they the best team in the comp? I still think they're right up there, but geez, I just want their forward line to really function. But a night like tonight's probably not going to give them that opportunity.
So against top 8 teams this year, Beach, there's 7 wins and no losses for Melbourne so far this year. Against the bottom 7 sides, they've got 3 losses and a draw, so a little patchy when the competition doesn't quite inspire them. For the Western Bulldogs, they've come up short a couple of times this year against the higher quality teams. A loss to Melbourne, a loss to Geelong on their form line so far, despite sitting second.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I've got written down here defence versus offence. I think it's Bulldogs, obviously being in the position they are on the ladder, they're not all about offence and that kind of thing, but generally I think their strength of their game is their offence, their ability to use the ball around the contest, which again, as you mentioned, tonight's conditions will play a role in that because it is habit for them, which is why they're so good at it. It's predictable, they all know what's going on. So and then on the other hand, Melbourne being really strong defensively, set up really well behind the ball on a night like tonight and the conditions, I think that's going to be important too, just to cover that being wet, generally the ball getting out the back of contests, large contests, so to always have that cover and that wicket keeper, as we like to use when we refer to Melbourne and their defence, is going to be pretty important. So Mike Larkin's weather update, there's a bit more rain to come, probably not all night.
Thanks,
I would say. Jane, yep. I'm happy with that one as well, but not all night, but there's some yellow on the radar, which as we know is a little bit heavier, so it's going to play a part, unfortunately, for us coming here. As you said, the game we've been waiting for, 1v2. We just, Melbourne just...
Who does the rain suit, the D's or the Dogs?
D's.
D's? Yep. Brendan Goddard and Brett Delidio on Grandstand AFL throughout the night. Roger Aldridge is with us, front row of the grandstand. Rog, how are you coping with the rain?
Yeah, not quite front row, Corbs. And the beauty of no crowds means that we don't have to sit down there in our designated seats. So I've got a few spots to pick from. But yeah, it is quite wet down here at ground level. Medical subs for the D's, Tom Sparrow for the Bulldogs, Anthony Scott, and this might be the first time the Bulldogs fans have outnumbered Melbourne fans in the MCC.
Put your scarf away, Rog. We'll get to you throughout the night. Roger Aldridge on the boundary. It's 1v2, Grandstand AFL, the D's and the Dogs. Here's Andrew Mays.
Should be an absolute cracker, this one. The initial clearance going the way of Brayshaw. Pushed off his kick, though. And then Gawn was in there low, coming in and perhaps getting it in the back. Free kick was Bontempelli. Advantage goes the way of the Bulldogs. English kicks inside 50. Lever with some good body work. It skidded off the side of his hand into the path of Langdon, who kicked and then bolted, kept on running. He was looking for the return ball over the top from Neil Bullen. He went a little further afield to Fritsch. Just getting a hand in there at the last moment was Williams. It spurts out the side of the pack, back towards him. He becomes the tackler on Neil Bullen, holds things up, a ball up 5 metres inside the boundary, 70 from the Dogs' goal.
Melbourne in their home strip, so predominantly in the navy with the navy shorts, and the Western Bulldogs in the royal blue with the red and white hoop and the white shorts. From the ball up, Oliver gets the clearance, kicks down the southern wing. Tom McDonald trying to keep it in front of him. Clever work from Keith, just paddles it to Duray's advantage. Goes back by hand to McRae, kicks down the wing, a turnover. And the opposite number 11 takes the mark as Gawn comes up with it. There's a free kick though.
It's going Waitman's way for shepherding. He kicks to the top of 50. And just starting in front was Hunt to run interference. Liberatore with the quick handball. The kick comes back inside, or was it out of bounds? No, just was out of bounds as Garcia tried to dribble it back to the top of the square.
Just dissecting the game a little bit more, Lids, I'm interested to see what the Bulldogs do with that +1, because the games we have done with Melbourne this year, no one's really manned them up and made that wicketkeeper as such, with it Lever or May really accountable and play 7 forwards at times if they have to.
Gawn v English in the ruck. Gawn from behind, slips through both of their fingers. Smith wasn't as clean as Oliver, who slammed it on his boot, out of the immediate danger. Keith knocks it back into the path of Dale. Hand pass to Duray off one step. Goes inside 50. Hibbert spoiled away from him. He went the chest mark in the wet conditions. Lever. Now Hibbert. Hand pass to Salem. He has a fumble. There's going to be plenty of that this evening. And we're out of bounds again, 40 metres from the Bulldogs' goal.
So it's going to be really important for the Bulldogs forwards. If they do get up the ground, they know Lever, May in particular, will drop off them. So they've got to do a really good job, one, of keeping them accountable, and then two, working hard really back when they do have the ball.
Gawn wins the hit out down to Oliver. Hand pass to Salem. Kick smothered. Waitman does very well. Tries to win it back. It's knocked away from him in the tackle, and out of play it goes. Forward pocket for the Dogs. Melbourne winning the toss, kicking to the city end in the opening quarter. So Dogs to the punt road end. This boundary throw in deep in their forward 50. A few of the lads, Williams and Bruce and Daniel, all with the long sleeves on for the Dogs from the boundary throw-in. Down the throw to Neil Bullen. He just chucks it on the boot and kicks hurriedly out to half-back. Brayshaw gets rid of Johannesson, wins the footy at half-back. Hand pass away to Pickett. Links up with Neil Bullen. Melbourne up into the front half. Brown out of position. Cordy spoils. Melbourne with numbers at the drop. Getting up with it is Hunt. He turns and kicks into the forward 50. Brown racing after it in the pocket. Doesn't gain possession, and it slips out of bounds in front of him. A boundary throw in forward pocket, city end of the ground for the Demons.
Or would you be paying to be wearing a longie today, B, do you reckon?
$1, yeah.
Yep.
and it probably because of the temperature, I'll be wearing a tights, long sleeve underneath it as well.
Thrown back into play, McDonald earned himself a little bit of space in the ruck contest. Hand pass to Walliver. Flying shot at goal, fades late, one behind. First score of the evening for the D's. That is the margin after 3.5 minutes.
First score of the game. No late change for either side, so the Dogs come in a little tall, with Shackey included from the side that beat the Suns last week. The two subs, Sparrow and Scott. As Duray marks the kick out, goes long down the wing. Norton had a couple of pieces of it. Mark not paid. Lays a hand pass off to Bontempelli. Kicks down the wing. Bruce collects. Tries to give it to Garcia. Skids away from him off the turf. Petty collects. Takes on McRae. Somehow got it back to Hunt. Hurried kick down the wing for Melbourne. Bounces in front of Petrarca. Keeps it alive for Melbourne. Hand pass to Brayshaw. Hooks his kick inboard and Harms takes the mark. Nemba's wing.
There's players on in the middle as well. He goes to the logo where Oliver's running through the wing. He kicks quickly. Brown out the back, leaps and takes it at its highest point. Couple of grabs, got it on the way down, and he'll have a shot at goal from 30 out, just about directly in front.
Well, that was really evident watching from behind the goals, or from the out vantage point, Beach. We're pointing out the lack of spread from the Bulldogs midfielders early on, wasn't it? The Clayton Oliver, Christian Salem coming off the half-back line, just giving them so much run.
Harms as well got involved.
Yeah, options are plenty for the D's going forward, but the Dogs boys just not quite doing enough work on the spread. All bees to a honeypot initially.
And sadly for Bulldog support, it was their three guns, Liberatore, their captain Bontempelli and Jackson McRae.
Brown, 30 out, slide angle to the right. It's not a great kick. He's pulled it, one behind. Doubles the lead for Melbourne. They're now 2 behinds. The Bulldogs yet to score. 5 minutes played opening quarter.
Really, the light rain has certainly increased. This is a full-on shower now as the rain sweeps across an empty Melbourne cricket ground. Dale from the kick-out hits up Williams, who takes the mark back flank for the Dogs. Still in their defensive 50, comes out of the defensive arc, finds Liberatore, marks, plays on by hand to the runner Johannesson, kicks up into the front half. Bruce the target, Petty spoils. Bruce has a second go, extracts it, finds Daniel, hurried kick to half forward, and Bontempelli takes the mark. He's still 60 metres out as the Bont, off his preferred left boot, kicks in the Norton direction. Lever spoils and finds the safety of the boundary line. A throw in forward pocket for the Bulldogs. 2 behinds for Melbourne. Dogs yet to score, 6 minutes in. Full time in Perth, by the way, an 8-point win for the West Coast Eagles over St Kilda.
Very persistent rain at the moment. Toss back into play. Gawn won it down. Daniel roved it though. Hand pass to Bontempelli for the first of the evening. Hooks it back and delivers. The captain. 1 goal for the Western Bulldogs. They lead by 4 points after 6 minutes in the opening term.
Well, it was really clean by Caleb Daniel, but I think Salem will look at that during the week with the coach, and he just gave Bontempelli his left side. If I'm ever taking a side of Bontempelli and on him at a stoppage, you got to take his left foot, particularly in that instance where it is coming back through the corridor. So, bit of a mistake because he only had a yard on him before Caleb Daniel came across. Again, really clean, gave the handball, and then later Shepherd as we watched the replay on the big screen. And all he needed was that yard, but he's running corridor side on his left foot. Christian Salem just... I think that'll be brought up during the week, but really good finish.
Roger Aldridge on the boundary.
Yeah, Josh Shackey's just come on for his first run. He's gone down to deep defence, so sitting inside the Demons forward 50 at the moment. So a change of role for Josh Shackey from what he's used to.
First goal, first lead change as Gawn grabs it out of the ruck, kicks to centre half forward for Melbourne. Oliver sockets it inside 50, chopped off by Shackey. There he is, involved in the play. Gets the clearance out, or the rebound out of the defensive 50. Rolling footy on the wing, and in the end, Liberatore inadvertently sockers it out of bounds. So a throw in right on halfway. Dogs 1 straight, Melbourne 2 behinds. 7 minutes into the opening term, Marcus Bontempelli with the first of the night. He's 6 votes clear heading into this weekend in the ABC Footballer of the Year. So there's 4 in the chasing pack, all tied on 20 votes.
Ball tossed in. Dale out the back of the pack. Was he pushed in the back? Umpire circles.
Don't you dare, Maisie.
Oh, it's not me, it's the umpire. Gawn won it down. Smith was pushed off it, as was English. Very scrappy at the moment. Merging from the scrap is Liberatore. Gets it on the boot. It pitches a metre inside the boundary line and bounces over the fence for a throw in.
Well, no one saw that, did they? Shackey going on and playing as a back rotation.
No, certainly didn't. Be interesting to see how he goes, isn't it? Because he's played nearly his whole career up forward, up front. So, be good challenge for him.
How often have we seen it that failed forwards go down back and become really good players?
Played just 4 of the last 36 games, Josh Shackey. At the Western Bulldogs from the boundary throw-in. Petrarca gets the clearance in the stoppage, kicks down the wing. Off Hanso spills to Dale. Look away, hand pass, a turnover. Jordan for Melbourne. Back to Petrarca, works his way through a phone booth and somehow kicks down to half forward. Fritsch collects on the hop, rolls onto his left boot, spears the kick to centre half forward. Somehow made its way through to Neil Bullen after a touch from Daniel. Giray, though, on the end of the kick in the back pocket, hands it away to Cordy. And now to McRae off the back flank, kicks the Bulldogs down the wing.
Hannon with a massive leap. He might have got some assistance too, pushed in the back by Hibbert, who received the free kick, rather, the former D. He's got a player outside of him in Smith. That's where he goes by hand. Smith is rushed. He just gets around almost the Brayshaw tackle, affected the kick, landed in Liberatore's lap. He couldn't take the mark. Oliver on hands and knees and then going very low and copping some treatment from Bontempelli over the top. I think was May. Big man down very low.
That was just unfortunate. Yeah, May just actually slipped. So Bont's actually expecting him to stand up and almost challenge the tackle. But slipped over right at that crucial moment.
Seems to be okay. He'll take his free kick from right half back. Goes to the wing. Gawn the target. English with the fist over the top. Front and centre Oliver. Slams it on his left boot. Ball tumbles end over end. Right up to the point of 50. Keith got a hand in there, but McDonald was first to swoop for the D's at ground level. Had a fumble at the crucial time. Shackey kicks out of the danger zone. Harms. Now a chance for Waitman for the Bulldogs. He just dribbles the ball 15 metres further afield to the wing. Oliver looking for the run of Hibbard. Couldn't find him. Now going through was Rivers. Ball finally comes to Gawn, who slams it on his boot right up towards right half forward.
Pack stands underneath it. McDonald in the end spoils towards the hot spot. Giray crunched in the tackle. Dispossessed. Viney picks up the loose footy. Kicks goalward. Touch on it from Keith. The goal-saving effort punches it through for a minor score. A rush behind. Melbourne have 3 behinds. The Western Bulldogs are 1 straight. 11 minutes in, the Dogs by 3.
Now a chance for the Western Bulldogs underneath the Great Southern Stand. Hunter takes a bounce outside of defensive 50. Kicks beyond the wing. And the D's have all the numbers. Going back with the flight. Lever takes the chest mark in the rain. Lever has May at true centre half back. Ignores him. He's going to go long instead. Kicks from just behind the wing. Inside 50, gets over the back of the pack. Petrarca off the ground from 40 across the face. Out for a boundary throw-in.
Deliberate.
Boundary throw in forward pocket for the D's.
Corpse, we're 8 minutes into this game, and Clayton Oliver's already had 10 touches.
Wow.
He's on track for 60 or 70 today.
But junior footy mentality.
Yeah, I love that.
Number 1 contested possession player in the game. Clayton Oliver so far through the first 18 rounds for the boundary throw in. McDonald down to Petrarca. Hand pass to Harms. Throws his head back. Wanted a free. Won't get it. Tackled by Smith to the ground. A ball up in the pocket for Melbourne. Oh. Blows his whistle twice and now he's going to chuck it up. 1 goal so far. Heavily rain-affected game as the rain continues to tumble down. As McRae somehow got it out to Shackey. Surge kick to half-back. Salem flies for it for Melbourne. In the end, Neil Bullen wins it. Half-forward for Melbourne. Hand pass away towards Jordan to Hibbard. Back to Jordan. He runs out of room. It's out of bounds. 60 out from Melbourne's goal at the city end. So a boundary throw-in. 12 minutes played. Persistent rain so far. 12 minutes in. The Dogs 1 straight. Melbourne 3 behinds.
Ball tossed into play. English down looking for Bontempelli. Lightning hand pass from Oliver to Neil Bullen. Might have been taken high. He was. 60 from goal. Neil Bullen with the ball. Plenty of numbers getting back inside, attacking 50 for the D's. Where's he going to try and pinpoint this pass? It's a low slider. English up over the top. Now Petrarca came from behind the pack. Hooks on his left. Great goal.
Wow,
that is class. And Petrarca has a big smile on his face as he kicks the first of the evening for the D's. 1-3-9 Melbourne. 1 straight 6 the Dogs after 13 minutes in the opening quarter.
Wow, he's so powerful, isn't he? So good to watch. One of the things I'm impressed with, especially in this sort of weather, his ability to be clean. His hands don't get any smaller. Just his ability to push off, break free, and then to finish on his left as well in the wet. The goal that the D's probably need, it's really hampered them this year, hasn't it? Their accuracy. They've let a lot of goals, or left a lot of goals on the table. Had quite a few good opportunities. Ben Brown probably the notable one, just his set shot from 30 metres out. But great start from Christian Petrarca. I think the midfield here, they're not playing a whole lot of defence at the moment.
I actually like what I'm seeing from Melbourne and concern for the Bulldogs. Just earlier, it's the numbers to get to a contest because of the conditions, to get front and square, to outnumber. Long contests here out of Bulldogs forward line before, and some reasons of slow play. Melbourne had more numbers at the drop of the footy.
Shackey doing some of the ruck work. Salem, though, kicks up towards the front half. Richards chops it off for the Dogs, gives to Liberatore. Away to Bontempelli, kicks in the middle of the ground. Rivers fumbles the greasy, wet footy. Down to Daniel, to Garcia. Hand pass out to the wing. Garcia's still got it. Spun around. Hand pass made its way to Hunter. Pushing the back, advantage applied. Bont's racing away with the footy. Kicks inside 50, and Jackson chops it off centre half back for Melbourne. So a loud start, Maisie. We wanted the Petrarca-Bontempelli matchup. They've each got a goal. Melbourne by 3 after 15 minutes.
Kick to the wing through the hands of Fritsch over the back. Clobbered is Daniel. Jeez, I thought he bumped him there, McDonald, rather than grabbed him, but he's been pinned for holding the man.
He had an arm around his waist. It's unfortunate.
Was it, or is he his head?
Made him earn it.
It looks spectacular. Daniel's okay. He passes to Cordy, who drops a simple chest mark. Plenty of time to recover inside the centre square. Back to Daniel, who runs through the wing, comes out wider still in front of Dale. This might skid on. He saves it just before he travels over the boundary line. Short kick finds Duray, left half forward.
I love what Caleb Daniel did then. I reckon 8 out of 10 guys would have looked straight this side. Leeds even knowing he was there early on this boundary side in front of the interchange, which is a nothing kick really, but his first look was the most dangerous part of the ground for him in the position he was, because he knew that guy on his left was always there, and that was his last option. He took it.
Duray's kick to 50 is punched over for a boundary throw-in. Stoppage. Attacking side of 50 for the Dogs.
Melbourne by 3 from the boundary throw-in. Jackson wins it down. Spargo high up and under, out of the stoppage, kicks towards Fritsch in a one-on-one, competes, can't mark, slips down at ground level to Fritsch's advantage, spins a hand pass forward, only as far as Hunter. He's upended in the tackle from Pickett as he kicks down the line. The ball pitches and runs out of play. And a throw in between wing and half forward for the Bulldogs. This is a proper wet weather game. There are showers forecast. There are puddles forming in the Isles already, so expect more of this throughout the night. Still very intriguing, first versus second. It's Melbourne 1-3. The Dogs 1 straight, 16 minutes in.
Shallow throw in. Jackson led the way, palmed it down to the advantage of Brayshaw, who got out of one tackle. His kick only travelled as far as Bontempelli, though. His kick smothered as it makes its way up towards 50. Well done by Hunt to get it to Jackson. And he passes it further backwards to Jordan, who kicks long, and Viney takes the mark just inside the boundary line, right in front of Roger Aldridge.
Thanks, Maisie. Big news down here. Alex Keith came off with a hamstring injury, and the Bulldogs are about to activate their medical subs. Anthony Scott about to come into the game. Alex Keith off with what looked a left hamstring.
Gee, that's big news. Conceded just 6 goals in the last 8 weeks. Alex Keith, as the D's have worked it inside 50. Pickett sockets to his own advantage, gathers the footy, shoots goalward, but misses. We had more time than he thought, Cozzy Pickett. Again, as you touched on, Lids, Melbourne's accuracy ranked 15th in the competition in that category. They're 1-4. The Bulldogs 1 straight, 17 minutes in.
They move it quickly to Daniel, who goes out wider still, and a good mark taken by Bruce. He's just inside the boundary line, right on halfway. Underneath the southern stand, wheels around on his left boot. It's a low kick. It'll favour Smith off the pack here, who snaps inside 50. Shacky's wandered down to the forward line. Could have gotten a hand on that one. Lever did. His kick was knocked down as well. Hibbert on hands and knees. Now Hunt back to Hibbert. It's all very scrappy. Hunt's dragged off the ball. Hagen palms it the way of McRae. Hand pass to Hannon. Hannon snaps towards goal. Just away to the left-hand side for one behind. 1-1-7 the Dogs. 1-4-10 the D's. 17 played opening quarter.
Shacky running around with Luke Jackson in the second ruck. There's Maxi Gorn's obviously off, so Luke Jackson goes in. English having his spell as well, and Josh Shacky is the one who's going to play second fiddle tonight.
Stephen May, the premier fullback in the game, with the long kick out to halfback. McDonald flies in the air, can't come down with it. Spits out the back of the pack to Jackson. Slick hand pass straight through the hands of Oliver. Mopped up by Daniel, gives it to Dale, kicks inside 50. There's a whistle for a hold inside 50. It's going the Dogs' way. And it'll be taken by Aaron Norton. He'll get the set shot here. And he'll kick from 35 metres out on a 45-degree angle.
Couldn't quite see that contest. The umpire was in a pretty good position. So,
like all good backs, though, he's like, "What? You kidding me?"
Stephen May's asking the question, but does that? Oh yeah, maybe technically was there, but does that maybe influence the decision of Shacky to come in? That maybe Keith
could have been a bit tight. You reckon?
A little bit tight, a little bit coming in. So now looks like a genius because it.
So here's Norton from right half forward. That's not the kick he wanted. Doesn't have to trip from 40 out. It's helped through on the behind line for a minor score. Melbourne 1-4, Western Bulldogs 1-2, 19 minutes in. Melbourne by a couple of points.
Hibbert with the kick-in duties. Runs to 20 out from his defensive goal, then kicks long. Jackson's his target in front. Shacky takes the juggling mark. Now he can enter attacking 50. Instead pulls the trigger short to Hunter. Underground hand pass to Daniel. Now to McRae, and he pulls his kick intelligently at the last moment. Travelled all of 15 metres and hit the lead of Bruce, who'll line up from about 45 out. He's only 5 metres inside the boundary line in the right forward pocket.
I don't reckon I ever went for an underground handball beach. I always went the other way, but certainly not in these conditions. I wouldn't be going for it either. But we asked Aaron Norton who the best midfielder to lead to, and he said Jack McRae was his favourite. He said he just puts it in a nice spot, easy to mark. And as you can see there, he's just put it on Josh Bruce's chest.
In he comes, Bruce. Lines up, right pocket for him as a left footer, and he's nailed it as well. 2 goals for the Dogs. They take the lead again, 2-2-14. Melbourne 1-4-10. 20 minutes played in the opening quarter on Grandstand AFL.
Well, it stuck to it. It wasn't a convincing kick either, but it was a good, really good decision by McRae, as you said, Lids, but because he had nothing long. There's actually a lot of numbers. Again, it was a bit of a slow play, so Melbourne had most things covered deep. So just to lower his eyes, stay composed, and to find a target, just to give him, albeit low percentage, that kick in his preferred side for a left-footer Bruce, but low percentage angle, but he had time to go back and finish it quite well.
Roger Aldridge on the boundary.
Yeah, Anthony Scott is officially, the paperwork's been lodged. He's on the ground, into the game. Just on Josh Shackey going to defence, guys. Know that it was a bit of a surprise to many. Mick Malthouse has actually mentioned it a few times this season that he thinks that's where Shackey's future might lie. His theory was that the best defenders are failed forward.
Third lead change of the game as Bruce puts the Dogs back in front by 4. Oliver gets the centre clearance, kicks into space out on that southern wing. Rourke Smith first there, taps it on and slips over. The ball beats him over the boundary line anyway. And a throw-in just forward at the wing for the Dogs. It's been such great nick, Alex Keith. His one-on-one matchups in the last 8 weeks, conceding just 6 goals. Kept Buddy to 1, kept Ben King to 2 last week, who's been in good form. And the boundary throw-in, Max Gawn grabs it out of the ruck, kicks it forward, and out of play it goes, just forward of the wing for Melbourne.
You'd have to question it, wouldn't you? They haven't done it so early in the game, a hamstring. Albeit it is cold, I understand that, because he might not be as warm as what he might normally be, but, geez, yeah, question marks.
Harms trying to go to Liberatore at this stoppage. Gawn won it over the back. Fell into the arms of Daniel, who comes racing away with the footy. He's looking for Norton. In front is Lever. Played it nicely. He finds the boundary line. Almost could have got a free kick in the end. It's seen over for a throw-in. 70 around from the Dogs' goal. They lead by 4 points.
Another game tonight across town under the roof at Docklands. Already 1 game completed there today. It's Hawthorn and Adelaide. We'll keep you up to date. It's about 15 minutes later than our match, as Garcia from the stoppage gets a high kick to half forward and another free kick in Melbourne's defensive 50. This time Rivers hanging on to the much taller Tim English. And English will take the freeze outside the 50, 45-degree angle on the flank.
It's good matchup, the English-Gawn one, isn't it? The young up-and-coming ruckman versus the tried-and-tested warrior. Max Gawn is.
He's been a goal kicker this year, Tim English. He's going to take his chances. He doesn't have much on it. He kicks it straight to Gawn, who was the only man up. He decided to spoil rather than mark it. Spills to Petrarca. His kick off the side of the boot slips to Neil Bullen. Hand pass to Lever. Got it away to Oliver. Melbourne last line of defence. Lever, quick hand pass, bursts through the hands of Paddy. On the ground level, collected by Hunt. Dumps it out of the defensive 50. Brown competes. Slips down to Pickett. He was tackled, lost it. Daniel for the Bulldogs wins it back at half forward. Hands it to Cordy. Kicks into the pocket. And Liberatore skidding in. Sees it out of play. A damp night to say the least at the MCG. We'll have showers throughout. It's chucked it down all night so far. 23 minutes in. The Dogs by 4 points.
Gawn and English again in the ruck. English wins it to the space over the back of the pack. Hunt was running onto it. Hugh Hagan was gathering, dropped it, regathered, hand pass, missed the target, goes through Waitman's legs. He tries to fetch it back on hands and knees, spurts out the side of the pack, away of Hunter, short kick from Richards that time, missed the target initially. Salem is happy enough to see it over with some pressure from McRae. Ball to be tossed in, 40 from the Dogs' goal. Doing a lot of work inside their forward line for no reward in the last couple of minutes. This one will be thrown in 40 around from goal. Gawn and English. Gawn just slaps it out of there. You could hear the leather on the hand. Now a chance for Petrarca. He becomes the tackler, ensures that things are locked up, and the stoppage to take place. 60 out from the Dogs' goal.
Full time in Perth, just repeating the Eagles' 8-point winners over St Kilda. Here it's the Bulldogs by 4. Time on in the first from the restart. Hunter tackled by Brayshaw, lost it. Spills out to McRae's advantage. He chucks it on the boot, kicks it out on the full. Trying to enter 50. Melbourne will get it in the back pocket through Lever. Just repeating, Roger Aldridge telling us a hamstring injury for Alex Keith, subbed out of the game in the opening 15 minutes. So the Dogs sub Anthony Scott is on. Long kick from Lever to the contest at half-back. There's another whistle, more intervention. The non-controlling umpire spots another free for a hold, and it's going the Dogs' way. Liberatore to take it.
He goes short to left half forward. McRae takes the mark. Might have got a clip on the way past accidentally from Brayshaw there. Just stuck his arm out. McRae's going to go inside 50. Lowers the eyes. English one grab, not the second. Hunter comes in over the top. Oliver tries to keep it in. No, it's out of bounds. Another throw in inside attacking 50 for the Dogs.
It's fair to say it's a bar of soap at the minute. Condition, we're getting no relief from the rain.
Very slippery conditions here tonight at the MCG. Toss back in. English to the front of the pack. Spurts the way of Brayshaw. Hand pass to Harms. Hand pass to Oliver, who rides the tackle. Got his hand pass back to Harms, who kicks it outside of defensive 50. No mark taken. Jordan sweeps a long hand pass to Neil Bullen. And wider still by hand to Brayshaw. Short kicks a good one to Petrarca. He marks at right half back.
Gee, there's a heap of them running forward for Melbourne. Petrarca short to Hunt, takes the mark, lays a hand pass to halfway for McDonald. He kicks long to Brown and a one-on-one. Brown reaching for it, Richards across to cover. Spoils and wins it for the Dogs at half-back. Kicks back down the wing. May arrives late. Spoils close to the boundary line. Bontempelli, slick hand pass, too hot for Smith. That's Bailey, and out of bounds it goes in front of the interchange gates.
Jeez, I can see why the Bulldogs defenders get really exposed at times. In all seriousness, his first quarter's to go by, because the defensive spread from the Bulldogs mids is really, really poor. It's really noticeable, the numbers from that contest that Melbourne had running through the corridor, and they're all midfielders.
Gawn just slaps it to Petrarca, who was 20 metres advanced on that contest. Hand pass comes the way to Hunt, who kicks inside 50. No mark taken. Bulldogs able to repel here. Garcia slams it on the boot, gets it out wide, and taking the mark on his chest on the wing is Johannesson. Kicks towards 50. Over the head of May. There was a chance for Hannon out the back, but he ran out of space. Another ball in inside attacking 50. We said that a bit in this opening quarter for the Western Bulldogs. Had plenty of ball inside there attacking 50. Only 2 goals to show for it so far. They lead by 4.
Last 3 weeks, Beach, the Bulldogs 18th in the competition, so last. Scores against once inside 50, so the way it's coming in, there's a score going on the board more often than not in the last 3 weeks. The boundary thrown, we've got a ball up again.
You see Josh Bruce just getting a fair bit of attention on the bench, maybe. Throw down a
finger or something, is it? I think.
He's gone, wins the tap. Down to Bontempelli, locked up straight away. Half forward for the Dogs. Dispossessed. English picks up the loose footy. Kicks off a step. He's kicked it from 50 out. Tim English, the back of the stoppage, chucked it on the boot. It floated goalward, kept going, and through it goes. So the Dogs have kicked 3 of the first 4. And Tim English, off a single step, bangs it through. 28 minutes into the opening term, the Bulldogs 3-2-20, Melbourne 1-4-10, a 10-point lead for the Dogs in the driving rain at the G. Roger Aldridge on the boundary.
Yeah, what you saw there with Josh Bruce, they're putting his finger back in, ring finger right hand, I think it is. So a dislocated finger for Josh Bruce. I'd imagine that gets in, strapped up, and he's back on before too long. But on a cold night, it might hurt a bit.
Oh, come on.
I wasn't as tough as you, BJ.
But you just pop those back in on the field, don't you? Lids, just call the...
I would have been out for 4 weeks if that was it.
How about our man Tim English?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether you've noticed, everyone else, but since we've called for him to sharpen up the sides, 0 for 8, he has started flying.
Back in the middle. Bulldogs lead this one by 10 points. No one bursting from this stoppage. It's locked up. Another ball up, just forward of the centre circle. Harms gets to his feet. That's going to be a good contest between him and Liberatore all night. Gawn again, wins it decisively. Defensive side of the stoppage, though, for the Dogs is McRae. Slams it on his left boot. Hunt tried to take the one-hander, pushed out of that contest. Well won by Jordan. Hand pass wide to Brayshaw. He's happy enough to see it over for a boundary throw-in.
So for people that weren't with us throughout the year, Lids and Beach, you called for Tim English, had the same haircut for way too long. Tom, just to sharpen it up a bit.
Yep, same haircut, and it was just for the amount of hair he has. It was just a bit boring. He looked...
Steel wool.
Yeah.
So he's gone with the A little bit of a fade now, the 0 fade, and it's working for him. He's in nice touch, Tim English. I think the last of the game for the boundary throw-in. English had it, lost it. Brayshaw tumbles a kick forward, but straight to Daniel. Chops it off on the wing. Hand pass away to Bailey Smith. Kicks the Dogs deep inside 50. Levers up and marking. And that's what he does better than anyone else in the game. He takes the intercept mark in the back pocket.
We actually gave his housemate, Aaron Norton, the feedback, and he obviously delivered it
on. Telling. Long kick from Lever down the wing. Spills to Gawn. High up and under towards the wing. Wet weather footy at the G. Off hands, it slips down to Bailey Smith. So back with the Dogs. Hands it to Bailey Williams. Kicks down the wing. Spills off hands down to Richards. Hand pass away to Harms. He's tackled, dispossessed by Bontempelli. And out of bounds it goes beneath us, right in front of the interchange gates. The Dogs by 10 points, 3 goals to 1. Half-hour mark opening term.
Ball thrown back into play. Gawn wrestles English out of it. His kick hit the side of Oliver's head, who was running through. Neil Bullen's kick was smothered. The ball's gone nowhere. Neil Bullen emerges from the congestion, though. Did extremely well to get to his feet. Hand passed it to Brayshaw, who wasted it. Kicked it wide, out of bounds on the full. You can hear him downstairs, not happy with himself. Ball's bounced about 4 rows back into a few puddles. So Josh Shackey has climbed the fence. Dangerous.
That would have never happened at AFL level ever before.
Yeah, Isaac Smith did it only a few weeks ago.
My next point was, apart from this year or COVID last year, that's an AFL player jumping the fence to get the ball, local level footy.
Shackey to Brayshaw, and it's punched away from him by Bailey Smith, and that signals the end of the opening quarter. 31 minutes it ran in the wet here at the MCG. The Bulldogs leading at 3-2-20 to Melbourne 1-4-10. The goal kickers Bontempelli, Bruce and English with one apiece for the Dogs. Petrarca with the only goal for Melbourne.
There are footies actually scattered around the perimeter, sort of underneath the fence. So I think the advice for Josh Shackey, and he may be reminded of this, is that the players aren't actually meant to enter what is referred to as a dirty zone, which is where we hang out. They're in the clean zone, which is on the playing arena. But we've had one fence jump already, and the Western Bulldogs lead the game by 10. 3-2-20 over Melbourne 1-4-10.
Risky too, in the boots, in the wet.
In the wet.
Bit of on concrete.
Yeah, on the concrete. Got down safely. Alex Keith didn't get out of that first quarter, though. He's done his string, so Anthony Scott into the game. Melbourne's medical sub is Tom Sparrow, unused so far. No late change coming in. We've had rain throughout so far, and the Dogs by 10 points at quarter time. The thoughts of Brendan Goddard and Brett Delidio next on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital. This is Grandstand AFL.
Lily is 11 years old. You went to the playground. What was missing?
A ramp, so my best friend who has cerebral palsy couldn't get up on the playground. So I wrote to the council and I suggested that they would add a ramp.
And what happened next time you went to the playground?
They said that they were adding a ramp because some little girl had asked for it and it was me.
How did that feel?
It felt very good because I feel like I've made a change.
Raph Epstein, weekdays from 3:30 on ABC Radio Melbourne.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Toss back into play. Gawn won it down. Daniel roved it though. Hand pass to Bontempelli for the first of the evening. Hooks it back and delivers. The captain, Neil Bullen with the ball. Is he going to try and pinpoint this pass? It's a low slider. English up over the top. Now Petrarca came from behind the pack. Hooks on his left. Great goal. That is class. To Daniel, now to McRae, and he pulls his kick intelligently at the last moment, travelled all of 15 metres and hits the lead of Bruce, who'll line up from about 45 out. And he comes, Bruce, lines up, right pocket for him as a left footer, and he's nailed it as well.
He's gone, wins the tap, down to Bontempelli, locked up straight away, half forward for the Dogs, dispossessed, English picks up the loose footy, kicks off a step, he's kicked it from 50 out. Tim English, the back of the stoppage, chucked it on the boot and floated goalward, kept going and through it goes.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
3 goals to 1 in that quarter. The Western Bulldogs lead by 10. A wet night at the MCG. Roger Aldridge on the boundary.
Yeah, more concern for the Western Bulldogs. Mitch Hannon is essentially it looked like a horse undergoing a vet check at the barriers. He's been trotting up in front of about 3 training staff and Dr. Gary Zimmerman. He is favouring his right knee is where he's pointing to the doctors, and they've just made him run up and down about 4 or 5 times where they observed him. He is going back to the huddle, but certainly an issue there for Mitch Hannon, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Tom Sparrow doing some run-throughs as well. Melbourne sub is yet to be used. Alex Keith's done his string. Anthony Scott into the game. The Eagles by 8 points over St Kilda, full-time in Perth. The Brisbane Lions came from 27 down at half-time to beat Gold Coast by 49. In a weird game of footy in the Q Clash, North by 39 over Carlton, their 4th win of the year. And a live score from Docklands, 18 minutes into the opening term. Adelaide lead Hawthorn by 11 points, 4 straight to 2-1. Here at quarter time, it's the Dogs by 10. Brendan Goddard, Brett Delidio.
Well, I said that Clayton Oliver was on track for 60. He's had 15 in the first quarter, Beach. 10 of those contested. It's his sort of night, though, isn't it? I think he's just going to lap it up at the feet of Maxi Gawn and the big boys with these contests. A lot of Ball's going to spend a lot of time on the ground. We know how good he is at getting to the right spots, but it's been the work rate of the Demons midfielders that has impressed me, but haven't been able to capitalise on the scoreboard, have they? So I think they can shoot straight, which they haven't done all year. They'll certainly they're playing the game in a better fashion, I feel, than the Dogs. But the Dogs have got lucky. Obviously, that Tim English snap from 50 out that's floated its way through. Josh Bruce kicking one from the boundary in the wet. Good.
Bontempelli's, that's a stoppage goal, so they're few and far between.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, what you may mention, highlight is that what we see from Melbourne is more convincing the Bulldogs to stand up long term. But saying that, if Beveridge and the coaches can identify just where they're lacking at the minute, which is that for us, it's just that spread from the contest it's been stark from their star midfielders that find so much of the footy. And I think we're all critical of guys that run really hard in offence and then have the old head wobbles in defence, and I'm seeing that just a little bit from the Bulldogs, so they can fix that, address that this quarter. That's the thing that's holding them back, because they've made the most of their opportunities. Haven't had as many as Melbourne, but Melbourne were, for mine, were just a little bit more convincing, as you made mention. Just that last kick when they managed to get out, and have numbers through the corridor. They're linking up really well from the stoppage and using the out number, and then just that last kick. A little bit of the ball use, a few poor decisions, sitting the ball on top of their forwards' heads, and the Bulldogs are set up. They did a pretty good job, I think, behind the ball, based on the number of good looks. Yeah, there wasn't a plethora of them, but they had a number of good looks with their shoulders out in time and space to make really good decisions, Melbourne. And they either butchered it a little bit, or the Bulldogs stood up really well defensively behind the ball.
Interesting, Harms has gone to Liberatore. I know they had that match-up last time around. I reckon Harms did a really good job on him. So far, that's sitting at Harms 3 touches to Libber's 6. Only the 2 kicks for Libber, kicking it at 50%. But look, I think it's his sort of night again. Someone like a Clayton Oliver who's going to find a heap of it in and around the stoppage on the ground. That's where Libber gets down and dirty. Obviously, the D's have identified that and trying to limit his ability to get it out to Bontempelli and McRae, Bailey Smith, the guys that can finish it on the outside. So stop it at the source is the way they're going about it. But he's doing an okay job, but I wouldn't say he's shut him completely out of the game, has he? So
I saw Libber then trying to attach himself to Oliver at different stages to create that
he can do that very well.
Well, I know, 2v1. So I think that message did come out a little bit later, but Libber's also got to get some help. But when the ball does leave the stoppage, he's got Harms obviously next to him, and then he can't find Oliver at all stages, so that other mid's got to help him out and find Oliver.
Bulldogs by 10, second quarter underway. McRae first possession, hand pass to Bailey Smith, kicks to Waitman, takes the juggled mark in front of Hibbert. And Cody Waitman comes up with it, 55 metres out, half forward to the run of Dale, who loads up, kicks goalward, not quite the trip, and it's through for a behind. A minor score, you can put it down off the boot of Bailey Dale, touching some hands on the way there. 3-3 to 1-4. It's an 11-point lead for the Dogs, 30 seconds into the second term.
Made a kick in for the D's. Waltzes out of his defensive goal square, then goes long. Gawn the target, through hands at the back. Duray stops the ball with one hand, spits out the side of the pack. Daniel, hand pass to Bailey Smith over the top. On his left, inside 50 he goes. Norton, one grab and the second. He's got it in front of Lever. Good win early in the second term there for Aaron Norton, and he'll line up from about 40 out, slight angle to the left.
As good as Jake Lever does judge the ball and play that intercept role, I think he's still vulnerable one-on-one if they're able. That wasn't isolation. But in the end of the day, it was a 1v1 because no one else flew for the ball. So if the Bulldogs are able just to make him countable and get him isolated, I think it's a really good matchup and somewhat of a mismatch.
Norton comes in for the opening goal of the second term. Kicks. Truly. And the Dogs have 4 on the board. 4-3-27 the Western Bulldogs. 1-4-10 Melbourne. We played 90 seconds in the second quarter on Grandstand AFL.
Well, at that stage, it was the Demons mids that were caught wanting on the wrong side of the stoppage. Bailey Smith and Libber spitting out on the front end. Libber starting forward now for this next centre bounce, but Aaron Norton, geez, he's an impressive young kid, isn't he? The size that he's been able to put on, his overhead marking, his contested marking overall is somewhat of a highlight to watch. I really enjoy coming to the footy just to watch him go about his work. Not the sort of night that would really suit him, but keen to see his craft and see what he can do up against probably one of the best defences in the competition.
So margin to 17, worrying for Melbourne. Roger Aldridge on the boundary.
The rain has all but stopped now, guys. So certainly at its lightest, but all but stopped. So hopefully we see an increase in more skillful ball use, but it's still going to be a bit slippery, I'd imagine.
Gorn wins the tap down to Harms. Hand pass to Viney. Gets the centre clearance. Pickett lays a neat tackle there on McRae. Ball slips out to McDonald. Kicks inside 50. Fritsch competes. Off hands those spills to Dale. Fritsch runs him down holding the ball. Great follow-up from Bailey Fritsch. Competed in the air on the way in, and then bounced straight back up to his feet, lays the chase down tackle on Bailey Dale, and he'll have a set shot from 30 out, just left of centre.
That was really good follow-up, and that's the strength of someone like Bailey Fritsch, of his size and agility. Really good overhead, which teams struggle to find that matchup, and then his ability on the ground to follow up, stay involved. So it makes him very, very valuable.
Big deep breath at the top of his mark. He's ordinarily a sharpshooter. Bailey Fritsch skips in. The lefty pokes at the drop punt, and the man with the best feathers in the game slots it. A goal for Fritter, and Melbourne get one back they desperately needed. 3.5 minutes into the second term. The Dogs 4-3, Melbourne 2-4. Touched on Beach, doing a lot right, Melbourne, around the ground, but at 17 points, all of a sudden you get a little nervous.
You do, and they'd probably feel like that too. I'm sure Simon Goodwood highlighted that at just a little bit at quarter time, just saying that, well, I would if I was Simon anyway, but just they were doing a good job. They're doing a lot right. Just about that ball use going inside 50 was the main thing. So really good finish. Again, did it the right way. Ball hit the ground. Players got involved. They had an outnumber at the front of the contest. Somewhat left Dale isolated the Bulldogs players, but really good hunting and forward pressure from the Ds.
Become very reliable in front of goal. He wasn't early on in the season, was he?
I was a bit perplexed of his comment there, Corbs, calling a sharpshooter.
He's up to 36-16 for the year, so it was lopsided at the start. The last few weeks he's been really solid.
Salem on half-back for the D's from the stoppage. Kicks long. Pickett dropped to chest mark. He was good enough to bounce off the ground beautifully and then able to recover nicely. Kick comes the way of McDonald, who wheels around, 70 from goal. He'll just put this to the hot spot, hope for the Flyers. Jackson tried to get a run at it. Pickett's followed up. The boundary line beats him. Out of bounds next to the left behind post. 4 minutes played, second term. The Dogs 27, play the D's 16, 11 points the margin. Rain has stopped pretty much for the time being. Tossed back into play. Shacky doing the ruck work along with McDonald, who just goes the soccer out of mid-air. It slipped off the side of his boot. A follow-up soccer wasn't a bad attempt as he was going to the ground there by Fritsch on his right boot. He just misses to the right-hand side, one behind. Margin back to 10 points in favour of the Dogs.
He's now 18 goals, 6 Fritsch since round 9, so starting to find the major opening. And gee, Cozzy Pickett looks on today as well as he lays a nice smother on the kick from Bailey Dale, trying to exit defensive 50. Ball spills out of bounds, a throw in forward, or half forward for Melbourne.
I feel like Cozzy plays well angry.
He's ready to go tonight.
Yeah.
40 metres out from Melbourne's goal, boundary throw in. Oliver first touch, centering kick, and Geray's back. Takes the intercept mark, top of the defensive goal square. Dogs by 10 points, 6 minutes played second quarter. They led it earlier in the term by 17.
He comes to right half back, Brayshaw. The spoil down to Oliver. Hand pass to Jackson. Hand pass to May. Short kick's a good one to Petrarca. Just carried 15. He takes the mark inside 50. And it's almost on the point where the 50-metre line intersects with the boundary line. This is the toughest of kicks.
This will take a very good kick from out here. He's told the cameraman, get out of the way. I needed just a little bit more room. I'll turn and give you something if I do dob it.
Why don't the cameraman ever show any initiative, Lidge, to just maybe shift?
That's Kleiny,
preempting that it's going to happen.
Been there for a long time, Kleiny.
That's where you get the best shots. Petrarca will take his best. He's hooked it badly out of bounds on the full. No shot required.
No. I always think of that Jack Nunes kick. Remember after the sign against Freo? I think it was a security guard who just was thinking, mate, this is where I'm sitting. It's like, mate, just go and sit a metre that way. As Dale goes short to Duray, who marks in the back pocket. 7 minutes into the second term. Bulldogs by 10. Melbourne with the last of the game. As Duray long with the contest kick out to half-back. Lever spoils. Sits in the lap of Dale. Comes up with it at half-back. Hand pass to McRae. Spears his kick to Hannon, who marks in front of the benches right on halfway. Bulldogs by 10 points.
Receives some attention from May too. Hannon looking for Bruce. Lever over the top. Good spoil. Finds the boundary line and gives Bruce a nice shove in the back to go on with it. And Bruce came back at him too. A little bit of
wind up
play.
with a fresh area.
It was a huge wind-up. Nice sidestep from Jake Lever too. Oh, there is good fun.
Battle of the Tashes there between those two.
Yeah. Toss back into play. Gone lovely to Oliver, who just lost grasp of it at the last moment. Comes the way of McRae. Hand pass to Smith. This is Bailey Smith. Inside 50 he goes. Norton matched up against May. No mark taken. Lever there. He snaps out of just outside of defensive 50. In fact, it lands just inside. And then going low was the sub, Scott, who's on. He didn't cop one over the shoulder. He's wrapped up at the top of 50. Ball up will have.
We'll keep an eye on that because Scott went, he's going to Clayton off Oliver around the stoppages, so I'm not sure if that's a tag almost, but it's a pretty big responsibility.
Gawn wins the head out. Bailey Smith grabs it and is locked up straight away by Brayshaw and Oliver.
Fair size difference between the two of them too.
Ball up centre half forward for the Dogs. Gawn wins it down. Petrarca tackled immediately. Dispossessed. Liberatore hand pass inside the forward 50. Hunt had it, lost it in the tackle. In fact, it was Langdon. Slips down to May. Just soccers it off the deck out to halfback. McDonald collects. Look away hand pass straight to Hunter. Bounces off his chest. Still pressure from Pickett. Picked up by McDonald. Hurried kick out to Fritsch, who collects on the southern wing for Melbourne.
It was a lovely gather as he spun onto his left boot. Jackson might not have taken the mark. He didn't think so. Umpire might have thought so. He got rid of it quickly. Put McDonald under pressure, who turned it over. Now it's a chance for the Western Bulldogs. Norton, hand pass out wide towards left half forward. Now Hunter, hand pass wider to Ugelhagen, who enters 50. Can it get over the back? Brayshaw there. Could have taken the mark. Went the double-fisted spoil in the end. Petty over the top. Now Lever. He's cool under pressure. Hand pass to Harms. Harms out wide. He might be turning it over. No. Again, another spoil. And that time it is Hunter diving in front of the pack and putting it out of bounds.
10-point lead for the Bulldogs. These were the last goal of the game. The rain has stopped momentarily. We had full-on showers in the opening quarter. Wet weather footy. Bulldogs 4-3, Melbourne 2-5, 9 minutes into the second term. From the boundary throw-in, it's back out again as Bailey Smith fumbles in front of the boundary line. Now, the big news out of that first quarter, Alex Keith doing a hamstring in the first 15 minutes. So the Dogs have made their sub, Anthony Scott, on. For Melbourne, Tom Sparrow, their sub for the 7th time this year, unused so far. Boundary throw-in. Comes down to Oliver. He's dispossessed. Still no clean possession. Oliver has a second go. Just knocks it to the advantage of Gawn, who kicks it further afield. Kicks smothered. Whacks it another 10 metres further towards the D's goal. Comes down to Shackey, though. Hands it to Bontempelli. Away to Liberatore. Kicks to Norton. Norton up strong and takes the mark in a pack of 4 or 5. On a wet night, very impressive.
Never looked like he was going to mark that right until the last minute. Puts it to the top of the square. No mark taken by Bruce. On hands and knees, Rivers. Was it in the back? Yes. Too high. Take your pick. He'll receive the free kick at the top of his defensive goal square.
Across to town, Maisie at Docklands. Adelaide by 12 points at quarter time, so they lead at 6-1 over Hawthorn 4-1.
Rivers short to Salem in the back pocket. He goes further afield to Spargo, who takes the mark. And then, late was Brayshaw. He was already in the air trying to make the spoiling attempt on Duray there, so collected him. Nothing untoward, just a little late, and Duray with the free kick. A couple of kicks out from the Western Bulldogs goal.
The 30-year-old free agent at the end of the year, Doc Duray, as he kicks to centre half forward. Bott out to meet it, slips straight through his hands, the greasy footy. Norton had it, lost it, got it to English, away to McRae. At centre half forward, Johannesson gives it to the Bott, snaps across the body. Hannon and May wrestle, May spoils. And Spargo in the back pocket mops it up for Melbourne. Hand pass to Salem, spears the kick to Spargo, bounces off his chest. Oliver wants the safety of the boundary line, gives it to Brayshaw. They keep it alive, the Demons. Inboard to Petrarca, kicks down the wing. Melbourne with the numbers, and Bailey Williams finds the safety of the boundary line, spoils it out of play. And a throw in right on halfway.
Did really well there, Bailey Williams, if that got over the back. They had a spare running towards goal.
But it's that outnumber again from the Melbourne's midfielders that they actually spread really hard to this commentary side of the ground, outnumber and get the overlap, which again Bulldogs midfielders are left to standing at the contest.
Gaunt takes this one out of the ruck, snaps it towards the top of 50. Brown dropped the chest mark. Roving was Oliver. His hand pass goes the way of Harms. It's spoiled away from him and out for a throw-in. 70 around from the D's goal. 2-5-17 Melbourne. 4-3-27 the Dogs, who played 12 minutes in this second term.
Roger Aldridge on the boundary.
Jack McRae's just come from the ground, pointing to his left knee. He is now in the hands of trainers. It doesn't look too serious. It looked more like a knock, but he is with the physio, and Dr. Gary's in them as I speak.
Dogs by 10, 12 into the second. Bontempelli, ball and all tackle on Brayshaw, takes him into the turf and a ball up.
Could have been from him being mowed down by Cozzy Pickett out there on the other wing.
Between wing and half forward for Melbourne. Gone down to Jordan. Hand pass out wide to Petrarca. He's out of room. So boundary throw in, 60 out from Melbourne's goal. How do we see it, lads?
Bit of a stalemate. Pretty
arm wrestle.
Arm wrestle. Middle of the ground, sort of back and forth.
Brett Delidy on Brendan Goddard, Andrew Mays, myself, Corbin Middlemass, and Roger Aldridge on Grandstand AFL.
Gorn was looking for the run of Petrarca, went through his hands. It ended up with Brayshaw, who hand passes further afield to Jordan. He goes to Harms by hand, then to Gorn, who pulls the trigger on the kick, lands just at the top of the square. No one got to it. Fritsch tried to punch it into space. Oliver arrived. Was he taken at the last minute? He was. Great tackle by Cordy, holding the ball. The Bulldogs have the ball. He hand passes to Bailey Williams in the right back pocket.
In the long sleeves, kicks down the line. Brayshaw jumps in the hole and takes the mark. The customary headgear, Angus Brayshaw in his 112th appearance at AFL level or with the Demons. Kicks from just forward of the wing. Brown up strong, can't come down with the footy. Slips to Cordy, kicks smothered. McDonald with the 1%er. Forces it out of play and a throw in, 40 out from Melbourne's goal.
I think Benny Brown's timing just seems to be out a little bit. He was sort of up and down, and then the ball got to him on that attempt at a big mark inside forward 50. That'll come hopefully for him.
The Dogs led this game by 17 earlier in the quarter. They now lead it by 10. Boundary throw in inside 50 for Melbourne. Petrarca tackled, got it out to Neil Bullen. He's dispossessed. Richards, centre half back, kicks out of the defensive arc for the Dogs. But at the drop, Hunt takes the mark across the half-forward line for Melbourne, finds Rivers, loads up from 60 out, kicks to the top of the goal square. They come from all directions. Fritsch flies, Fritsch follows up, sockers it through on the goal line. Bailey Fritsch with 2 in a row.
Come off his thigh?
I think he went twice. He's not overly happy with it.
I think they hit him on the right thigh, and then he tried to throw his left boot at it as it came down. I'm not sure if he got purchase on it, Lids. They're going to the score review.
I'm saying no.
Right thigh.
So right thigh, does he get the left boot on it as he tries a second attempt? No. Hand on it from Bailey Williams, if anything. And this will be just a behind.
So why wouldn't you grab that and just slam it on your boot?
I think he's waiting for it to sit perfectly for him.
Well, that's the problem, right? Yes. You want to sock it off the ground, you're waiting for it just to pop up. It's an oval-shaped ball, it's not round.
It's right there in his lap, isn't it, to grab and pop it through, but that's okay. He did well to recover. It was his hands on it first, wasn't it, in the pack, and then it's bounced straight back to his feet and had a real opportunity there.
It's a lot to process, Paige, in a very quick period of time. He's got to wonder about the post. The goal post is right there. He doesn't want to run into that.
Corbin.
No, you've got to understand
There's nothing to process. It's all instinct. You grab the ball, and if you miss your boot or you get tackled, so be it. But it's a high percentage to grab it and place it on your boot.
Exactly. BJ and I played the percentages.
As we always do.
Well, that's why you guys played 600 games
Well, you would have had a stunned mullet in that, were you? We better watch out for that post there. Where's the umpire? Yeah, the guy in the yellow. Yep.
I would have tried a scorpion kick, just something incredible off the back here, and see if that would go through. It's a behind anyway. Melbourne 2-6. Western Bulldogs are 4-3. It's a 9-point lead for the Bulldogs.
Dale with a long kick. Rivers did exceptionally well to muscle Ugelhagen out of that one, and he takes the mark just beyond halfway. He's got all but 3 players in front of him at the moment, so it's a congested forward line. He just puts it to the hot spot. McDonald gets a run at it, couldn't take the mark, through the hands of Harms, now at ground level. Neil Bullen pounces on it, he's stripped of it. Umpire says holding the ball. So a free kick. Yeah, no, that was a surprise. So a free kick going the way of Richards for the Western Bulldogs. Richards to the right back pocket where Bailey Williams takes the mark. Williams looking back across the face of goal. That's where he runs initially. A bit of indecision. And then he hits up Cordy, who's standing at the top of his defensive goal square. Draws the opponent. Hand passes to Richards running past. Richards threads the needle beautifully to Shaki at left half back.
So Shaki waits to give the hand pass and does to the run of Richards along that boundary line southern side to Bruce, and a one-on-one. He's up and leave a spoil in over the back. Out of play between wing and half forward for the Bulldogs. The Dogs 4-3, Melbourne 2-6. 17 travelled second term. The quarter time score at Docklands. It was 12 points Adelaide's way. Early stages second term there. About 15 minutes behind us. The boundary throw in. First possession for Langdon. Hand pass to Harms. He gives it back to Jordan. His kick smothered. Daniel waved the smother, won the footy. Hand pass away to Liberatore. Bulldogs back in possession from the launch pad. Kicks deep for Norton. Off his chest, can't complete the mark. Comes back to him at ground level. Taps it to Bruce. Bruce sockers goalward. And Bruce lying horizontal on the turf has socketed it through for a goal.
Hit the post.
And we're going to the arc. You think it clipped the post?
Well, look at the player's reaction, Corbin.
That's why you're here to give me a hand, Beach.
Or it may even been touched.
Yeah.
Touched anyway.
It was touched off the boot from Stephen May. We won't even need to check whether it hit. This is like the LBW rule, Beach. We won't even have to go to the next stage to see whether it hit the post or not.
Pinched outside leg.
Yes.
Stage 1.
It'll come back as a behind. So Melbourne 2-6. The Dogs will go to 4-4. It'll be a 10-point lead for the Bulldogs approaching time on in the second quarter. Off the SMS, shout out to Kevin in Myrtleford, who's listening by the fire again tonight on a cold, wet night. Pete in Ballarat's with us. Brian in WA, behind confirmed, by the way. And Charlie says, watching the game on TV, listening to your call, please ask Dave the truckie where Victoria's best mixed grill is. Cheers from Charlie. So hopefully Dave's with us as well tonight to get the other end of that.
Big long kick. It is a good one straight up the middle. Viney takes the mark, made it look like dry conditions. Goes long to Brown, who just paddles it to the advantage of Spargo in the end. Ball got away from him on hands and knees. Threading the hand pass was McRae to Daniel to Duray. And now to Scott, who goes off his left inside 50. Good mark by Lever. Tracking back at centre half back, takes it on his chest.
Links up with Hibbert off the back flank, away to Rivers. Kicks to the southern wing. Mark taken by Jackson. Lays it off by hand to Neil Bullen. Puts Melbourne inside 50 and Fritsch out wide takes the mark at right half forward.
He's going to set sail, is he? Looks like he's... Don't worry about it, boys. I've got this. He's just a little bit too mobile for Josh Shaki there. You know his forward craft is very good. Bailey Fritsch. Josh Shaki, first time that we've seen him play down there in the back line. So learning lessons all the time, there's no doubt.
We saw another left footer in Josh Bruce. Kick one from out here. A little closer to goal in the opening term. Fritsch has a crack here at half forward. Got close to the mount of the mark. It was touched on the way through. And it spills out of play. Forward pocket. Melbourne can have another go. Time on second term. Bulldogs by 10. Just a goal each in this quarter. One to Fritsch, one to Norton. Dogs led by that same margin. 10 points at quarter time.
Has been a stalemate so far in this second term. Petrarca at the stoppage. He's over the ball. A couple of dogs over him. Bounces the way of Smith, Bailey Smith that is. Kicks it out of the immediate danger. Norton came from 3 deep. then tried to run interference at ground level. Lever was too good, got the hand pass to Langdon. Hand pass wider out, and it is Jordan who kicks into the man on the mark, and it's smothered out for a boundary throw in top of 50. Bailey Smith involved in a couple of passages in a row there. Ball to be thrown back in. It is, at the moment, the Dogs by 10. Toss back into play. Gord. Good tap again to Neil Bullen. Went the underground hand pass and actually bounced off the leg of Scott to a teammate now, Smith, off his left, up towards Ugle-Hagan. Didn't complete the mark. Lever got the hand pass to Langdon. Oh, big collision at ground level. Going over the top was Oliver. Dogs come away with it, though. Now Garcia, it's knocked away from him. D's come away with it. And it's Oliver who kicks to the top of 50. Bounces just in front of Williams. It was an awkward half volley. It got away from him, and just getting through the tackle there was Fritsch. Got some sort of a hand pass the way of Salem. Hand pass to Viney. Now a hand pass to Spargo. Short kick is a good one. And Brown takes it on the way down. He'll line up Ben Brown from about 35 out slide angle to the left.
Well, they got away with it, yeah, but it's really good work from Brown. That's almost like the Brown of old, where he's on the move. He has to be on the move because he's not the most agile man, but he was in the initial contest there, about 45 out in front of goal. As the ball shifted, he shifted with it as a tall forward and then got on the end of it with a little short kick, which was a great kick in the end, because if it had gone anywhere else, top of the square, where it was most likely to go, there was an outnumber for the Bulldogs. So he's just gone back to about 80 out from man on the mark's 30. So we'll just wait. We've got about 10 seconds.
He'll kick from 40. He's on the runway, Ben Brown, in he comes. His kick in the first quarter wasn't so good. This one, he's hit the post. Was coming back late, one behind. The D's inaccurate tonight. 2 goals, 7-19. The Dogs 4-4-28, margin 9 points.
They're the ones he's got to kick. As Daniel out towards halfback to Richards, comes out of the defensive 50. It kicks it down the wing, but straight to Lever. Lever with a hurried inside 50, skids out of play, 30 out from Melbourne's goal.
He's just not striking him pure at the moment, Ben Brown, is he? They're getting them real skinny. They're spinning fast.
A lot of rotations. What does that mean?
You haven't hit it well.
It doesn't go as far. Or as straight.
6 goals, 5 for the year for Brown in his 6th appearance. And a Melbourne jumper and the boundary throw-in. Shaki wins the tap. Bontempelli skidding through, leaves it for Hannon. Away the hand pass back to Liberatore. Kicks across the back flank. Not where he wanted it to go. Into Fritsch's hands. Tries to straighten up Duray. Great mark. Dropping in front of Harms and hangs on to the juggled attempt. And backs back to take his kick in front of the behind post. Last line of defence. Bulldogs by 9.
Waitman's got to fly it right half back. He did. It spilled off his hands into the path of Hunter, who kicks beyond the wing. Hannon 1-on-1 with Petty. Petty got the fist in there towards the boundary line, which would be a win for him. He lost his footing and the ball just spun out of bounds. Hannon was almost away. Ball to be thrown in about 70 from the Dogs' goal.
That was lucky.
Very lucky.
No cardinal sin as a defender. Don't go to ground.
Just took a right turn at the last moment as Hannon was away. Ball in. 60 out from the Dogs' goal. Just 1 goal apiece in this second term so far. English down to the front of the pack. McRae becomes the tackler on that occasion on Jordan. Throws him over the boundary line. And we'll have another stoppage, another ball in.
Top 2 teams on the table since round 4 in the competition. They both spent time at number 1 and see as a result time at number 2. A winner to go top of the tree tonight as Gawn wins the hit out to the advantage of Petrarca. They link up again. Kicks trying to get it to Brown's advantage. The kick suited Shaki. And as Shaki goes to ground, Brown had a hand on him, helping him down. Gives away the free. So Shaki off halfback. Short kick to Daniel. Marks, still defensive side of the wing, and Pickett pouncing on it to lay the smother, knocks it out of bounds, and a throw-in in front of Melbourne's bench.
It's been the story of the night, really. Melbourne's wasn't an inside 50, but it's 60 metres out. But it's just a kick that literally was to Josh Shaki's favour. So he's got Ben Brown was a little bit out of position, but he's just got to do a better job with that Petrarca.
Dogs by 9. Richards, hand pass, just made its way to Daniel, who might have been caught high. He was by Viney. Viney gets up rather annoyed as well. Gets a fistful of Tom Liberatore's jumper. Daniel plays on meanwhile. Hand pass to Williams. Hand pass to McRae. Long to right half forward. No mark taken. Hunt to Salem of the D. Salem turns it over. Ugle-Hagan tries to break the petty tackle. Did well enough to get a hand pass to Hunter, who floats a kick inside 50 through the hands of Bruce. Smith is onto it for the Dogs. Some sort of hand pass back to Bruce. He was tackled straight away. It'll be thrown up 20 metres from the Dogs' goal.
Cocky Hunter's hit a perfect inside-out spiral there.
Gordy did one
earlier
down here. It was perfect. At a weird angle for him, almost like a snap, and he's kicked the inside-out barrel.
26 played second term, Bulldogs by 9. Ball up here, forward pocket for the Dogs. Bailey Smith tries to stand up with it. Spits out to Brayshaw, kicks one straight up and down in the same spot. Gorn whacks it back into the corridor. There for the Demons, Pickett, spun around, hand pass over his shoulder to the voice of McDonald. He's tackled straight away. After receiving it, the ball up centre half forward for the Dogs.
Good result, sorry for the D's, because the Bulldogs had the outnumber on the ground, only 40 metres out, straight in front, so McDonald did a good job. Ball security, hanging on to it, getting a ball up.
Haven't had a goal since the 4-minute mark, so big passage here before half-time. Bontempelli from the stoppage, kicks to Norton, can't mark. Spills to Brayshaw, he's tackled by Hannon. Can't get a kick away, holding the ball. Brayshaw taken to ground with the footy. And the Dogs will get a look at the sticks here, 20 metres out, just right at centre.
Strange call, wasn't it, Lids, based on what we've seen the last 10, 15 points. No prior opportunity, stood up in the tackle.
I think because he had his hand free to be able to kick it.
Well, he made an attempt, but his legs almost got caught up with
the tackle.
Yeah, Hannon's legs were in the tackle, and then, and the old rules of dropping the footy, incorrect disposal. But again, the last 15 weeks, that would have been called play on 9 times out of 10.
Roger Aldridge on the boundary.
Yeah, Jake Lever just coming off with the blood rule. And I see Hibbins just come on, so that's the delay at the moment.
Thanks, Rog.
Not in a hurry to get off either. As Jake Lever walks through the interchange gates. And Mitch Hannon against his old team walks in. He's set shot with goals at a premium tonight. That hurts. And Hannon walks straight up to Brayshaw to let him know about it. And now there's a bit of a scuffle on. Harms ripped to the ground. And the Dogs with a critical goal before half-time. 28 played second term. Bulldogs by 15.
I hate that stuff, to be honest. I think that Bailey Smith's just given a couple of real cheap shots there, grabbing blokes and reefing them from behind. It's like, mate, if you're going to be brave, you're going to be tough, do it from the front. But don't even bother. Like, you kick the goal, go back and just work on where the next centre bouncer is going to go. I really don't enjoy that sort of stuff. Never have.
We saw Harms rip to the ground there. How's that not a free kick?
The umpire had a perfect view of it.
Right.
We all saw it, and he's 10 metres off the contest, literally behind him, in a bit of space.
That's what I mean. It's a cheap shot.
It's a free kick every day of the week. If it occurred now, it would be a free kick.
If that was the other way around, if that was a Bulldogs forward, that's a free kick.
Yep, no doubt.
I guarantee you they have another shot on goal.
Ball back in the middle. Now Petrarca works the 1-2, slams it on his boot. It's going to be turned over though. Falls onto the chest of Hunter. Hunter short. This one hangs in the air. Petrarca, one juggle, the second, not the third. Liberatore mopped up. His hand pass a turnover. Oliver works the 1-2 with Viney. Back to Oliver, and now he kicks intelligently off his left into the middle and finds Harms. Harms goes further afield to Gawn. Gawn behind the centre circles. He goes out wide, and it reaches Langdon on the wing.
So Langdon wants to take on Rourke Smith on the mark. Kicks long in the Brown direction. Kicks it too wide. It's out on the full. So Giray to get the free at half-back for the Bulldogs. Final 2 minutes on the game clock here. Big stage in the game. The Dogs have led by as many as 17, up by 15 now. A low-scoring affair, half-hour mark, second quarter. They all set up on the southern wing, so Giray just kicks long to the contest. Jamara flying in front. Spoiling at the back is May. The Dogs come up with it. Garcia. Hand pass away to Daniel, to McRae. Kicks in the direction of Jamara. Picked off, though, by May. He's dispossessed. Garcia, hurried kick forward. Norton the target. Petty punches it out of play. A throw-in on the southern wing, right on halfway. 15-point lead. You hear the cries of 90 seconds coming from the bench below. An empty stadium here at the MCG tonight. Approaching half-time. Bulldogs by 15.
Thrown back in, Gawn. Had a fresh airy. Chance for Bontempelli. Was he taken without it? No. Becomes the tackler in the end. He'll hold things up. The umpire says, I'll have it. Left half forward. 30 minutes played in this second term. The Dogs lead it by 15. Still chance for both teams from this stoppage. Big collision there, and it might have been Oliver who went to ground. Dogs come away with it. Bontempelli kicks inside 50. Hannon again! Dropped it on the way down. May was there to clean up for the D's. Hand pass over the top to Rivers, who kicks a high ball outside of defensive 50. Harms went at it with one arm. It spills the way of Salem. It's turned over. Now Bailey Smith bursts onto it. Front 40 was celebrating as soon as it left his boots. Hit it flush. And the Dogs get a late one before half-time. 6-4-40. The D's 2-7-19, 31 played second quarter on Grandstand AFL.
That's a damn good finish, wasn't it, from there?
Quick step, had a man in front of him applying the pressure right in his face. But it was really clean work around the contest to get it out to him, just to find that little bit of time and space he needed. So great finish, as you said, Mace. He literally had the hand up in the air as soon as it came off the boot. It's always a good feeling when that happens. But strange now. It's out to, we've got 21 points. And I'd say that Melbourne, it's just been a bit of an arm wrestle, and just the Bulldogs have just been more efficient going inside 50, to be honest. So
clunky up forward, the D's. I just can't feel like they're not delivering it well, and they're not getting bang for their buck.
There's a couple of things going wrong.
Bontempelli again, straight out of the middle. The first touch as he kicks out wide to half forward. Ugle Hagen out after it. Him and Hibbard see it out. 50 out from the Dogs' goal. We went 25 minutes without a goal in the game, from Fritsch at the 4-minute mark into a Hannon at the 29th, and now the Dogs have gone bang bang right before half time. What was a 9-point lead is now 21 the Dogs' way, a game high. From the boundary throw in, English more of it, down in the path of Rourke Smith, hands it back to Daniel, dumps a kick inside 50, Petty spoils, into the path of Hibbard, off the back flank, hand pass away to Harms, gives it to Petrarca, surge kick towards the wing, picked up by Brown, he's lost possession, back into the centre square, 4 Melbourne players around it, Viney chucks it on the boot hurriedly into the forward 50, race on, Shackey and McDonald both out after it, McDonald gets rid of Shackey, Daniel lends a hand, taps it back to Shackey right on the bell, and the Dogs finish the quarter strongly with 2 late majors to give them a 21-point buffer at half-time. A game-high margin. The Western Bulldogs lead the ladder leaders, 6-4 to 2-7. A 21-point buffer for the Dogs at half-time. They kicked 3 goals to 1 in the first quarter, and in the end they've kicked 3 goals to 1 in the second. 6 individual goal kickers for the Bulldogs. Bontempelli kicked the first of the night. 1 for Bailey Smith, Josh Bruce, Mitch Hannon, Aaron Norton and Tim English. While for Melbourne, 1 to Petrarca, 1 to Fritsch. 10 scoring shots to 9, and yet it's the Dogs by 21 points on the scoreboard at the half. Brett Delidio and Brendan Goddard on Grandstand AFL.
We're just looking at the stats here, Beej, and the game would say that it should be very even, shouldn't it, in terms of the disposals. We're looking at the marks at 26 apiece. The Bulldogs are on top by 6, though, in the clearances, which is probably starting to tell a tale. Obviously Gawn gets first hand, so a lot of footy, but the Dogs have just been far cleaner in and around their work there. But we spoke about in the first quarter, Melbourne's ability to spread has been more impressive, but the Dogs are getting the job done, aren't they? So
it's a bit more of the opportunities they do get inside 50, because it's not clean.
It's not a clean night.
Yeah, well, I don't think literally there's been a lead-up hit tonight because of the conditions. So both teams are playing the conditions right, taking less risks. Bulldogs adapting really well from their high handball game around stoppages and congestion, but getting the ball in their boot a little bit more. There's still, handballs 80 each. So, but they're just more efficient. The ball's hitting the ground, got great representation. The Bulldogs at ground level, been clean enough just to, again, find that little bit of time and space. Kicked a couple of, pretty tough goals. Low percentage spots in that first quarter. You talk about English and then Josh Bruce from wider in the pocket. So they've been really efficient, to be honest. 9 scoring shots to 10. Again, it's a bit of an arm wrestle. If there wasn't a scoreboard, you'd suggest it would be pretty tight, if not maybe leaning just a little bit towards Melbourne based on what we're seeing through the midfield. So the Bulldogs, to their credit, now they've got an opportunity, probably go in, not playing their best footy, but we've been really efficient, so let's fix up that spread. The contest work, you said the clearances are really good. Contested ball, they're just ahead. So just behind from Melbourne as well. So,
well, that's because of Clayton Oliver, who's had 17 out of his 23.
17 contested. So, it's pretty even. So, just better efficiency from the Bulldogs at this stage.
Yeah. We've talked a lot all year, Lids and Beach, about Melbourne's forward line and what the right mix is. And with Wiedemann and Brown, whether it's neither of them, whether it's both of them, one or the other. And again here, that 19 points to half-time. They've kicked 2-7, so some of it self-inflicted. They're the only team in the competition that hasn't kicked a higher score this year than them is Hawthorn. Their highest score all year is 104 points, which is so unusual for a team which has spent most of the year on top of the table. Is there anything to... I know it was wet weather conditions. Is there anything to draw from that first half where you think, boy, that needs to be better, that connection?
Well, what if they kick 7-2? And we're probably not talking about it as much. Ben Brown, I know we've been a little bit critical and you know, he's not as mobile as other players out there, but he's had 2 gettable and should have kicked shots on goal, hasn't he? He's just kicking
Ben Brown 3 years ago, they literally don't look like missing.
Lay down Mazairs, aren't they? He doesn't miss, but at the moment, zip 2, and he's only had the 2 touches for the game.
You think he looked a little bit likely? I used that term last week, 2 weeks ago with Jamara before, but he's looked more likely. At least he's getting to the contest. Again, the conditions don't suit him. Ball hasn't been really...
The service hasn't been great.
Great too, so it's not, again... It's not a night where you're hitting up lead-ups and taking those risks with possession. So he's done a good job to hold his man out, kick it to my advantage, give me the best chance to actually win a one-on-one contested mark. But then that hasn't happened either way. So when he's been in good position, the kick's been poor. Times where he's been in poor positioning. So he's still a little bit off, but he's been... The couple of games he's only played this year that I've seen, he's looking a bit more likely, a bit more agile, a bit more on the move. The old Ben Brown getting to more contests, but again, he's just a little bit off. But there's a couple of things that are contributing to their lack of efficiency going forward.
If the game ended right now, you'd probably walk away and think, oh, well, both teams are still well and truly in the mix to win the premiership. The Dogs are a little more efficient tonight. They're 21 points up on Melbourne at half-time. And if anything, the long-term concern is probably the Dogs out of the game so far. Alex Keith. They're short on key defenders as it is. Josh Shackey playing down there tonight. Keith did his hammy in the opening quarter, so he's been tapped out of the game. Anthony Scott, the sub, is on for the Western Bulldogs. The sub for Melbourne's Tom Sparrow. He's yet to be used. 3-1 in the first and second quarters has the Dogs up by 21 at the half. Meanwhile, across town at Docklands, time on second quarter, Adelaide by 15 points over Hawthorn in the other live game. So Adelaide 8-1, Hawthorn 5-4. In the afternoon time slots, in the twilight out west, it was the Eagles by 8 points over the Saints. At the Gabba, big turnaround in the second half, 13-1 after half-time. Saw the Lions defeat the Suns by 49 points. And this afternoon at Docklands, it was North Melbourne by 39 over Carlton. Damper off the SMS from Geelong. Says, g'day guys, good call so far. Can I ask where all the background shouting on the broadcast is coming from? I thought we didn't have a crowd in. Is Goodwin going off his chops on the boundary line? That's not Simon Goodwin. It's often the players that you can just hear. And as you can imagine, in a 100,000-seat stadium, the noise certainly reverberates around the stadium and off the stands.
Yeah, it certainly does. I think it's mostly just the fitness guys who they're trying to get off the ground at the moment, telling people that it's their time, get off. And then it's also... I know Choco, he was very boisterous when we were down there when I was playing with him and he was at the Tigers. He certainly knows how to use his voice, but yeah, mate, it's an empty stadium. It's
I wouldn't have to yell as much as I did if we had empty stadiums back in the day.
I was about to say, Beach, would you be someone on the boundary line shouting out?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I was going to say, what percentage of players would be yelling out certain things?
Not many. I used to talk a lot on the bench too. Just a bit of running commentary.
Well, you stay in the game, don't you?
Yeah, that's what kept me engaged. And I'll be talking to my teammates just about, that bit of play. He could have done that a little bit better. Did you see that and all that kind of thing? But, if I had to get up, and stand on the edge of the boundary and start pointing and directing, I would.
Very quick reset here, just news headlines. So we'll be back in about 90 seconds' time, and then an update from what's happening over in Tokyo, the opening day of official competition after the opening ceremony last night. So an Olympic update, and then second half action in the top of the table clash at halftime. The Dogs by 21 points. Let's see what's happening in the newsroom.
ABC News headlines with Satyam Weinstein. The New South Wales Premier says she's utterly disgusted with protesters who took part in an unauthorised anti-lockdown march in Sydney today. Gladys Berejiklian says they've shown utter contempt for their fellow citizens and compromised the safety of everyone. Thousands of protesters from all over Sydney converged in the city to protest the month-long lockdown. Victoria's Health Minister Martin Foley says New South Wales should get a greater share of any unallocated COVID vaccines. Mr Foley says New South Wales can't have any vaccine that's already been allocated to Victoria, but it should get more doses that are not yet allocated. All adults in Greater Sydney are being urged to consider getting the AstraZeneca vaccine, as any risk of rare blood clots is outweighed by the risk posed by the current COVID-19 outbreak. The vaccine advisory body ATAGI today issued new advice on the Sydney outbreak, suggesting those waiting for alternative vaccines should strongly consider getting vaccinated now. Pfizer is the preferred vaccine for those under 60, but ATAGI says given shortages of supply for that vaccine, AstraZeneca should be strongly considered by those in Greater Sydney. A new US opinion poll shows most Americans believe racism is widespread in the country. The Gallup poll shows 64% of people hold that view, up a few points from 5 years ago. ABC News.
Do you like Sammy J? Would you like to hear more of Sammy J? What about a podcast featuring Sammy J?
Sorry, are you talking about me?
Quiet, you're not allowed to talk yet.
But you're promoting my new podcast.
Yes, and the last thing we need is you ruining it for everyone.
Sorry.
The Sammy J Snack Pack.
Can I just say one thing?
No, we're out of time.
The Sammy J Snack Pack Podcast. Exclusively on the ABC Listen app.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Daniel, hand pass to Bailey Smith over the top. On his left, inside 50 he goes. Norton, one grab and the second. He's got it in front of Lever. Norton comes in for the opening goal of the second term. Kicks. Truly.
Pickett lays a neat tackle there on McRae. Ball slips out to McDonald. Kicks inside 50. Fritsch competes. Offhands those fills to Dale. Fritsch runs him down holding the ball. He's ordinarily a sharpshooter. Bailey Fritsch skips in. The lefty pokes at the drop punt. And the man with the best feathers in the game slots it. Haven't had a goal since the 4-minute mark, so big passage here before half-time. Bontempelli from the stoppage, kicks to Norton, can't mark. Spills to Brayshaw, he's tackled by Hannon. Can't get a kick away, holding the ball. And Mitch Hannon against his old team. He's set shot with goals at a premium tonight. That hurts. And Hannon walks straight up to Brayshaw to let him know about it. And now there's a bit of a scuffle on.
Rivers, who kicks a high ball outside of defensive 50. Harms went at it with one arm. It spills the way of Salem. It's turned over. Now Bailey Smith bursts onto it. Front 40 was celebrating as soon as it left his boot.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Half-time at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. The Bulldogs by 21 points over Melbourne, the two teams that have been first or second on the ladder since round 4 of the Premiership season. Tonight it's Saturday night footy in round 19. One other live game taking place. We're approaching half-time at Docklands across town. It's Adelaide by 9 points over Hawthorn. Of course, there's plenty of attention on what's happening over in Tokyo. It is officially day 1 of competition, and Ned Hall across all of it for us on ABC Sport. Ned.
Corbin, we'll start in the pool because a couple of big results have just come out. Emma McKeown has just finished in a dead heat in her heat in the women's 100-metre fly. Means she goes through to the semi-final as the joint fastest with the Chinese swimmer Zhang Yufei. Both of them hit the wall at identical time, so they both go through joint quickest. And Brianna Throssell, who was in the same heat as those two, was 5th in the heat, but she does make it into the semis just 16th quickest, so she swims again tomorrow morning, as does Brendan Smith. Now, he is straight through to the final, and he is the fastest into the final as well, so the PB and an Oceania record in qualifying, winning his heat there, so he qualifies first for the final. Seabon Lee, unfortunately, second in his heat, but he doesn't make it through. Those are the only Australians who've competed so far in the pool. A few more coming up shortly. Elijah Whittington in the men's 400-metre freestyle is the next. Disappointing news from the football, though. Australia going down 4-2 to Sweden. Sam Kerr scored both goals for Australia. Also missed a penalty when Australia were 3-2 down. Sweden went on to score the next goal and take out the victory there. Australia plays USA in their next match, with the US due to play New Zealand in about 40 minutes from now, which will give them some idea of what they'll need to do in their final group game if they want to progress to the next stage. In the other team sports earlier on today, in the water polo, Australia beat Canada 8-5. Bronte Halligan scored 3 for them. In the softball, Canada beat Australia 7-1 there. And in the hockey, first thing today, the Kookaburras beat Japan by 5-3. Out on the water in the rowing, the women's pairs, the men's pairs, they're through to the semi-finals, both winning their heats. The women's fours and the men's fours straight through to the final after winning their heats, but the eights have to go into the repechage. In the tennis, John Millman through after beating Lorenzo Mazzetti in straight sets, and Ash Barty and Storm Sanders beat the Japanese pair in straight sets too, but Sanstoza lost to the Kazakhstan player Katerina Rybakina in straight sets, so she goes out. Plenty more still to come in the pool this evening. I'll keep you up to date with all of it a little later on, but that is the latest from Tokyo.
That's a hell of a wrap, Ned. That's everything that's happening on day one of competition from an Australian perspective at the Tokyo Olympics. If you want to know more, head to our website, abc.net.au/sport, or you can follow us on socials at ABC Sport across Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. It's half-time at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. It's the Western Bulldogs by 21 points. Corbin Middlemass, Andrew Mays, Brendan Goddard, Brett Delidio and Roger Aldridge. Big talking points out of that first half. The injury, obviously, to Alex Keith and Melbourne's forward line. So 2-7, a little shaky with a few set shots in the rain. The adjustments of your Simon Goodwin at half-time, I mean, apart from saying, hey, it'd be nice if we kicked a little straighter when we had some set shots, what would you be saying to the D's at half-time?
Beach, what would you be saying? I'm not a coach.
Well, I'm not either, clearly. Well, the clearances, I think, is especially on a night like tonight, that you get ground position being really important too. So both top teams, so their pressure in their forward half is good enough. Obviously being, I think, more of a highlight for Melbourne and the way they set up behind the ball as well. But ground position, so clearances, be the one they're 6 up now, but that plays a little bit of the role too.
They're up 40-8 in the hit-outs, Melbourne.
Well, yeah, I know.
But they're not winning the clearances, so obviously their clearance work needs work.
Yeah, so their midfielders, their numbers are good. Like, Oliver's got 17 contested possessions, but let's not be fooled by that. Their midfielders' jobs, first and foremost, is around clearances and get the job done there. So I'm sure they're watching some footage and talking about how they can, because the times they have got out, so we're probably a little bit fooled too, because they got out a number of times and looked really good, but the crux of it is that they've got to do it more often, and it doesn't always have to, be shiny as such and be free-flowing like they have got out a couple of times. So just don't get back to, hunting the footy out number at the contest, and then if that open ball, free ball comes on the outside, so be it. But they've got to win the contest first, get ground position, because they do set up so well behind the ball. So that'll make them stronger defensively as well. So harder to score against, but then again, as we may mention, it'll give them second, third opportunities once they get inside 50, then to set up, get a re-stoppage, re-entry goals, re-entry shot on goals. So there's a number of things, but I wouldn't say there's too much else really, besides that, and the efficiency just going forward, make smarter, better decisions, give your forwards better opportunities when they are in a strong position, in particular their talls. Ben Brown is one, so just give them better opportunities. And then saying that too, maybe the ball is just bouncing out a little bit. That's tied into their ball use. They're making poor decisions, so when the ball hits the ground, they can't get an outnumber there. The forwards then can't get back in play and get forward to make an outnumber and play their roles. They're front and square players. So that's where the ball use does tie in. So it's just then hitting the ground and then bouncing out just a little too quick for mine. So then therefore they don't get opportunities to set up behind the ball. There's this flow-on effect further down the field. They don't get those second, third opportunities, scoring opportunities, that is. So, yeah, there's a couple of things there, but there's nothing that they can't fix.
21 points in a low-scoring affair, the Dogs over the Demons. They kicked the last two deep into time on of that second quarter. The Western Bulldogs, and as we've touched on a few times, it doesn't feel like the Dogs have doubled Melbourne's score in the way that the game has been played, and Melbourne having plenty of wins around the ground. Lids, from a Dogs perspective, Alex Keith obviously hurting his hamstring, and we've seen Josh Shackey, the defender, for the first time tonight. What's your take on his game through two quarters?
Well, he certainly hasn't looked out of place. I think his job has basically been like, you're going to pick up Luke Jackson, you're responsible for him. Whenever he goes into the midfield, plays as the second ruck, you're going with him, you're going to just compete. He hasn't looked too bad, has he? I mean, obviously he's played as a forward, so he understands the craft and where a forward's trying to get to, so he can cut some angles, and he's learned on the run, essentially.
I'm sure he's thought about, and the coaches have got him to think about, when you played forward, what did you find difficult? What did you hate as a as a forward in terms of where did you play, position himself in relation to the ball, all those kind of things. So, and without him probably sitting there and verbally saying that to the coach or responding to the question, he probably knows it instinctively.
Yeah.
So that's where all those years of being a failed forward as such.
Yeah.
That instinctively he's got all these things ingrained that he's learned along the ways that come out instinctively and that are in his subconscious somewhere. So that's where, and he looks I've watched him a little bit, and just behind the ball his positioning's been reasonably confident, and it feels like he's got a feel of where the ball's going to go to and where he's forward, what his forward's trying to do.
Well, he hasn't just turned up here today and the coach is like, guess what, Jack? You're playing it out in the back line, mate.
Because we criticised the decision to take him in as a tall forward, judging based on what they already had in Jamar and Norton. And
so he would have been doing a heap of work during the week, if not the weeks prior, just to...
Do we know what he'd done? Well, where did the VFL play last week?
They haven't been playing for a while. I'm not sure. They might have played a joint scratch match last week. I think they had to combine a couple of things.
There you go. So he may have had a test there, but what I was going to say, that they haven't been playing, he could have been training in position for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and we don't ever know.
Riley off the SMS says, BJ, why haven't you gone into coaching?
Why haven't I?
Yeah.
Because I just love the ABC and these lads too much.
That's the right answer. Just right on.
I don't often say the right thing or what people want me to say. Ask my wife that.
Never noticed. Western Bulldogs by 21 at half-time, 6-4 over Melbourne 2-7. The SMS number is 0437 774 774. Quickly in other games earlier today, at half-time, by the way, a live score at Docklands, Adelaide by 15 over Hawthorn, so they led by 12 at quarter-time, 15 at the half. Tex has kicked 3, and Darcy Fogarty's kicked 2, so they've got 5 so far, Adelaide, out of the 2 keys up front. At Docklands, North Melbourne by 39 points over Carlton. Maisie, it was the Blues' heaviest defeat under David Teague since he's been appointed the full-time coach. Since the review's been launched, they're now 3-3.
Here's your thoughts, Maisie.
It wasn't a great day.
No, it wasn't.
Carlton Football Club.
It wasn't a great day at all, was it?
8th time they've conceded 100 points this year. It was a bit of early season Carlton about it.
I was just going to say that, wasn't it? Just watching it, just reeked of...
lack of defensive intensity.
And their ball movement. There was a patch there where they were getting enough looks inside 50, ball movement, got out a number of times. Again, I've singled him out a number of times whilst calling the games, but Jack Newnes just kicking up a chimney and kicking it to no one. It's just got to get better. I'm sure they're addressing it, but nothing, not much has changed.
The other 2 games, Brisbane by 49 points over the Suns, came from 27 down at half-time, kicked 13 of the last 14 to win, and the Eagles by 8 over the Saints. Second half action here, it's the Bulldogs by 21. You're with Andrew Mays.
Gawn's kick from the middle, slews off the side of his boot, straight to Oliver. His kick didn't go much further. He has a second go at it. This will go inside 50. High kick to the top of the square. Brown and McDonald, third in line, took the mark.
Dry footy and probably got the old Vel grip. What did you used to call it? Grippo.
Vel grip.
Vel grip or something, I think it's the real name. It's on the tin that you buy from Bunnings.
Yeah. No, the Grippo, mate. I train with it, play with it every single game. But Clayton Oliver's obviously got it on too, because he was that clean in the middle there. He just stepped through and gave him that first sniff. This needs to go through.
If he has got it on, let's hope it doesn't stick to his hand like it did with Liam Stocker a few weeks ago. And he comes for the perfect start in the second half. Tom McDonald knew as soon as it left his boot, it was sailing straight over the goal umpire's hat. They've got the opening goal of the second half within a minute. 3-7-25 the D, 6-4-40 the Dogs. The margin back to 15 points.
So if you are sitting at home and watching and listening to the great ABC...
That's not Grippo, though. That's a new one.
Really?
Yeah.
So the
stickier.
The stuff that players put just in between their pectorals and just below the logo, branding logo on their jumpers. Is that where you put it?
No, mine was always on the badge, on the AFL badge.
There's often, or just there you go, on the badge as Lids did, but that's the old Grippo. You see that little bit of yellow goo that's on there. That's the Grippo that players often put on their jumpers. Maxie Hutchin was massive on it.
He was. Actually, I used to notice Maxie Hutchin always had it everywhere.
How much do you reckon it improved your handling?
Outrageous.
Loved it.
Almost like Travis Cloak glove style.
Don't get me started.
The famous glove. Gawn with another clearance for the D's. Goes inside 50. Lightning hand pass. It scoots up to Fridge for 2 in a minute. He's got it. And the D's have come out on fire. 2 goals in the opening 2 minutes. 4-7-31 Melbourne. 6-4-40 the Dogs. All of a sudden, it's back to 9 points.
Wow, that was Good work by Big Maxi Gorn, straight out of the middle. The big clearance number. Got it out of there. That's his second one for their second one straight from the quarter, centre bounce. But Ben Brown, I was impressed with his quick hands, just a one take quickly, flick it on. Little fumble it was. I'm not sure who the player was. Viney pushed it on, and Fritsch, right place, right time. Love his forward craft, ability just to get into the right spot, and a nice little finish on his left.
Feathers Frisch.
Feathers Frisch, yeah. Head hasn't moved in the wet weather at all yet today. Very impressive.
What have I missed?
2 goals.
Jeez. In a minute and 7 seconds of play. 2 quick ones for Melbourne to start the second half. Gone down to Petrarca. Tumbles a kick forward. Out it comes towards Dale, who collects for the Bulldogs. He's tackled, dispossessed. Fritsch onto it for Melbourne, the goal kicker. It's stolen off him by his own teammate. Neil Bullen kicks across the half-forward line, but Johannesson takes the intercept mark, and he's off and running. Defensive side of the southern wing. Kicks up into the front half. It'll sit okay for Hannon. He's met immediately by Hunt. And Melbourne with the numbers. Salem away to Lever. Gives it to Hunt by hand. Langdon has a fumble close to the boundary line. Hunt keeps it alive. Hurried kick down the wing for Melbourne. Over the back, Dale spoils into the corridor. Straight into the path of Cozzy Pickett. 70 out. Kicks to the advantage of McDonald. Just too much on the kick. McDonald charging back with the footy, racing towards the fence. And pitches in front of him and runs out of play. A throw in forward pocket for Melbourne.
We also had clean air in front of him.
How long until he does that? Just pins it and goes to goal.
I thought he was going to then. And maybe if he didn't have McDonald with 3 or 4 metres of space, he may have. But I'm sure he had the guy that was chasing him well covered.
Brown tried to get it to Pickett, who was running past Bontempelli. Quick kick out of the congestion. Gets over defensive 50. Hibbert's there for the D's. Now Oliver goes in hard and low. Hand pass over the top is good to Jordan. He went further back to Hibbert, who had no idea where the ball went as it was smothered. His head was spinning around at all angles. It's out of bounds, 60 from the Melbourne goal.
That was so good by Oliver, though. Came flying in, protected himself. Great technique, tough. And then good enough just to find a teammate with his handball.
Shallow boundary throw in. English down to Hunter. Hurried kick forward, touched off the boot. Hunt grabs it, he's tackled. Somehow got a kick away, went 1 metre to Bontempelli. Through traffic, kicks into the forward half. Petty out to meet it, shakes the Bruce tackle. Hand pass to May. Back to Lever by hand. Off half-back, kicks for Big Gorn, who jumps in the air, can't mark. English spoils. And out of play it goes. In front of Oliver and Waitman. So Melbourne kicked 2 goals in the first half. They've kicked 2 goals here in the first 70 seconds of the second half. We've now travelled 5 minutes into the third. The Bulldogs by 9 points.
Fast start to the third term by the D's. English down only as far as Harms. Hand pass to Salem. Back to Harms. Harms off his left foot. Not a good kick. Didn't reach 50. Baylor Williams takes the mark on his chest. Looks to play on. Inside defensive 50. Switches on. He goes out wide to Dale. He takes the mark and he plays on immediately. Good kick to the wing. Hunter. Hand pass to the running Johannesson, who takes a bounce. He'll fancy his chances against Harms. He kicks inside 50. Low ball, not a good one. Marked on the chest by Salem.
Salem straightens up to Oliver at centre half back. Bulldogs by 9 points. First 2 goals of the second half for the Demons. I don't want to put the moz on it for Rog, but I feel like it's stopped raining. It certainly didn't rain much in the second quarter after thick, heavy showers in the first term.
Michael, I can get back to you in a second.
Lever away to Oliver. Oliver kicks out to half-back. And McDonald the target, close to the boundary line. McDonald's still trying to keep it alive. And Richards and Jordan see it over. So a boundary throw in, 70 out from the Bulldogs' goal at the punt road end.
There's a little bit building just over the Ballarat, Dalesford way. So maybe there's a little bit to come.
Always raining there.
Yeah, the old rain belt.
What sort of front's that, Beach? Have you got any of the details on that? There's a cool front coming through?
Well, that has to be a cool front, isn't it? Because it's raining.
It's a wet front.
Kicked inside the Dogs 50. D's have the numbers. Brayshaw, hand pass to Hibbert, who was caught on his right boot. Oliver smashes it over for a boundary throw-in. Top of 50. 6 minutes played, third quarter. D's came out firing. Goals to McDonald, and Fritsch sees them draw within 9 points of the Western Bulldogs. Thrown back into play. Cold night here in Melbourne. Gorn to the front of the pack. McRae gets separation from his opponent. Hand pass to Bontempelli, who bananas it to the top of the square. Dangerous spot. Ugle Hagen's front and centre. Good contest with Salem. Ball spurts out the side. Now a chance for Liberazzore, who kicks to the top of the square. Hannon going back with the flight. Couldn't grab it. Now a chance front and centre. Garcia, hand pass to Norton de Bruce to goal. He has 2, and the Bulldogs have 7. They answer Melbourne's double kill at the start of this third term. 7-4-46, 4-7-31 the D's, 7 minutes play.
They just found a way, didn't they, Beach?
Yeah, that's what it feels like the game is. Just things like that they're doing a really good job, mind you. So I wouldn't say there's much going on with Melbourne. Maybe just get a little bit more of an outnumber at that contest.
They had a couple of chances to clear that, though, and they fumbled.
Yeah, a few fumbles, but it just feels like they get inside 50, they make kind of something out of nothing. Really good job to outnumber and then find a little bit of space and then able to finish, touch off the boot. Yeah, it was Hunt had a couple of goes at it. I think he had a go earlier as well. And there we go, just a couple of clean hands there to the top of the square. And Bruce, and he shouldn't miss from there. We've seen him miss from closer a couple of years ago. But yeah, just making something out of nothing when we've got an opportunity inside their 50.
So 2 for Bruce. And all of a sudden the margin back to 15 in the middle of the ground. Bontempelli gets the centre break, kicks to centre half forward. But Salem there for Melbourne, hands it to Petrarca. His hand pass and turnover inside the centre square. McRae puts it back inside 50. Unkind bounce for Lever. Running onto it, Jamara bowled over by Hibbard. And for some reason Langdon tries to keep it alive. Gets a kick which makes another 15 metres. And as I'd say in another code, he finds touch, a boundary throw-in. 50 metres out for the Bulldogs goal.
A couple of blokes just trying to get a pad the stats there, weren't they? Petrarca just flicked it out into traffic.
That's the old Richmond forward handball. It's not in their game plan, though.
True.
Toss back in. Gawn wins it down, then becomes the tackler. Bontempelli in over the top. 2 ball going nowhere. 9 minutes gone. Third term. It is the Bulldogs by 15. Another chance here in their forward half. Bontempelli, hand pass inboard. Not a bad one either to Scott, who puts it to the top of the square. Lever with the fist. Front and centre, Bruce. Hand pass to Johannesen. Tries to shrug the tackle. Couldn't do so. Holding the ball. Strong stuff. Defendable. Almost the last line of defence. And popping up with the free kick is Spargo. He will come out wide. Jackson there, and Jackson juggles it. Does he? Umpire paid the mark. Not sure Jackson was convinced he took it.
Hey?
He has it.
The umpire said he had enough of it.
Right half back.
Gary Ablett held it for longer.
Round 7, Rising Star 9. One of the favourites for the award as Jackson turns it over on cue. Finds English. The intercept mark on the wing. Sells a bit of candy. Gets around McDonald. Lays a hand pass out wide to Daniel. Short kick for the Dogs. Half volley pick up Johannesen. Hands it to the bot. Hand pass out wide back to Daniel. Kicks inside the forward 50. Reaching up for it. Rivers can't come down with the footy. Goes back in at ground level. Pack forms around him, extracting the footy. Jordan did well, got it to Hibbert, away to Viney. Hurried ball to half-back, touched on the way through. Bontempelli lays the tackle on Gawn. Hump says play on. Brayshaw sockers it further forward. English collects for the Dogs. Hand passed it. Hunter kicks back to half-forward. And Petrarca takes the mark. Got the clip over the ears after doing so as well. Petrarca back on his feet. He's okay. Bulldogs by 15 points, 11 played, third term.
Petrarca tries to thread the needle. Bailey Smith just got a hand in there. He's able to affect the turnover. Hand pass to English now to Duray, who hand passes around the boundary line. Now, wanting to take the advantage there was Hunter, who was off, but it's going to come back. Because I think the boundary umpire actually called out of bounds, so it have to come back for the free kick.
Was he paid some sort of weird downfield free kick?
Yes, downfield, yep. So he goes back to Duray by hand, who sells a bit of candy himself, then kicks into Jackson. Rebounds inside 50. English, hand pass out to Daniel, who pulls the trigger from 40. Hits it pretty well. Very well, in fact. And the Bulldogs have another. 8-4-52. Melbourne 4-7-31. The margin back to 21 points, which is what it was at half-time after 11 minutes in the third quarter.
Well, Beach, you called that one before he'd even pulled the trigger on it. Very good finish. You can't give him that sort of time and space. Caleb Daniel, his ability at Jack McRae to win it across the forward 50.
But again, it was a smothered ball. It was too much in Duray. Popped out at the right time, practically straight back to English. He's got
messy footy in it, but their ability to...
There's a bit of luck involved, to be honest, but it's their endeavour and intent, it's all there.
Yep.
Yeah, it was actually you, right. McRae was a great pick-up to find English. And then the Melbourne player just over-committed to English, didn't quite influence him or put him under enough pressure, and then he's able to find Daniel with time and space.
So back to 21 points the Bulldogs' way. Out of the middle, Brayshaw off the wing, collects. He's hand pass picked off though by Liberatore. Turnover as well to Rivers. Rivers gives it to Petrarca, who can't pick it up. Few fumbles. Liberatore back onto it. Has one possession, now a second as he wrestles in for it. His hand pass got its way to Bontempelli. He kicks a turnover straight to Rivers. Off half-back, long kick down the wing for Melbourne. Hand on it from Jackson. Now he becomes the tackler on Richards. The ball held to him, a ball up on the wing. Members side of the ground, Bulldogs by 21. Roger on the boundary.
I don't want to get into BJ's lane, but although the rain stopped, I think it's getting colder down here. It feels like temperature is down to 6, and it feels like time to get the 44-gallon drum out and get the fire in the barrel going.
Oh, it sounds cold fronts coming.
Chance for Petrarca, right half forward. He hand passes to Viney, who chips him forward to Brown. Might have been intended for Langdon. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and Brown marks on his chest. He'll line up for his first of the evening, a couple of behinds to his name.
Be an understatement just to say the D's need this for Mr. Brown.
It'd be good to see him strike one nicely, wouldn't it, and just get his confidence up and going. It's a big kick. I reckon you back him in if this was his shooting for his third versus just going for his first after missing the first couple.
Yay or nay, is he kick it?
Yeah.
Yep.
He'll kick from about 35, angled to the right. Missed from a very similar position here in the first quarter. In he comes. He's learnt from his mistakes, and he doesn't miss with that one. The D's get their much-needed fifth goal. 5-7-37. The Dogs 8-4-52. 13 played third term.
It was a really good kick, wasn't it, from Viney, who
meant that one
again. Yeah, well, I was just about to say, do we give him the benefit of the doubt?
Oh, Maisie did.
At least his shoulders and hips were facing that way, so whether it was for the guy that was in front of him. But again, Ben Brown, I wouldn't say it was a great lead. Viney's a left footer, so he's running onto his right, and he luckily had enough time.
But he was on the move.
Yeah, enough time just to straighten up and find Ben Brown there. But at least he was on the move, offering something, as opposed to standing in the goal square, just kick it to me, kick it to my advantage. So it's a Ben Brown. He has to get on the move because he's not a great contested mark. One-on-one, that is.
Brendan Goddard and Brett Delidio, Grandstand AFL. 15-point lead for the Bulldogs. 15 minutes into the third term. English leaps high. Down towards Liberatore's hand pass out wide. Viney soccers once and twice. Now inside the forward 50 for Melbourne. Brown gets a kind bounce, collects on the flank, spins around, chucks it on the right boot. Close to the boundary line. Duray and Fritsch see it over. Forward pocket for the Demons.
Big fella. You've done all the hard work. You've collected it. You've got Cozzy Pickett flying past you. Just a little dish and a block. Job done. Probably a goal.
That'll be shown next week.
He wanted to go, Ben Brown. Kicked one a minute ago.
Feeling hot.
15 points, the Bulldogs lead. Deep forward for Melbourne. Jackson down at Petrarca. Takes on the tackler. Hand pass back to the hot spot. Brown went without it. Brown's going to get a second go. Collects for Melbourne. Takes on Bailey Smith. Chucks it on the boot across the half-forward line. Unkind bounce for Langford. Still spinning in the forward pocket. Daniel back. Collects for the Bulldogs.
Daniel left it to the last minute, and it was a risky kick. Chopped off by Hunt, who runs to 45 and misses.
Ooh.
Oh, he could have made them pay, but he doesn't. And 5-8-38 the D's are, 8-4-52 the Dogs.
Little shift of momentum after the Dogs kicked the last two. Melbourne with a goal to Brown and now a miss for Hunt. Rourke Smith here takes the mark on the exit out of defensive 50 from Dale. He's going to try and switch play. Finds Shackey at centre half back. Roll in defence on Ben Brown tonight, and Keith hurting his hamstring in the opening quarter. Shackey out to Hunter. Defensive side of the broadcast wing goes short to Daniel. Bulldogs by 14 points, 16 played third term. Melbourne well set up behind the footy. Daniel some indecision. Short kick to Duray, not 15. Tackled, lost it. Brayshaw collects for Melbourne. Hand pass over to Fritsch. The D's going downhill. Links up with Petrarca in full flight. Kicks on the run from 50 out. It's across the goal face. Skids out of bounds. Not a bad result for Melbourne. And a boundary throw in alongside the behind post.
Yeah, you're right. Not a bad result. It's a bit of a throwaway line. In that case, a fast point would have come straight back in, and they were vulnerable out on the open side. But he's just got to be better there.
Trying to kick it to us.
It's the one, it's a little thorn in his game, I think, just that he's kicking sometimes.
Thrown back in, Jackson tried to grab it out of the ruck, spilled it at the last moment. McRae now for the Dogs. Spins onto that left boot, right back pocket. Hunt intercepts. He didn't complete the mark, though, on the way down. It's socket away from him. Out the back, Rivers has time and threads a little bit of a gap through that traffic. Kicks back inside, attacking 50. Viney, arms free, gets it to Pickett, who snaps from the pocket. Near side the whole time. Another behind for the D's. That's 9 for the evening. 5:9:39. 8:4:52. The Dogs. Simon Goodwin yelling plenty of encouragement downstairs.
So 14 scoring shots to 12, and yet it's the team with the fewer scoring shots that's in front. And the Bulldogs, a dangerous moment. It's straight up the pipe from the kick out. Hunter, hurried kick to the wing for Richards. Now the Dogs getting going. Gives it to Bailey Smith. Back to Richards, who runs straight into Pickett. Pickett's come off worse. Richards come off worse for wear. Pickett won the footy. Hand pass to Petrarca. Hands it out to Spargo. Melbourne with numbers at half forward. They get it back to Pickett. Hurried kick forward. Brown caught at the back. Tries to lay a tackle on Cordy. He shakes him. Cordy steadies up. Lays it off to Dale. He kicks to Duray, who marks at half back. And Richards with the trainers after that heavy collision with Cozzy Pickett.
Norton over the top of May. Couldn't take the mark. Hunt at the back of the pack. Chip over the top is a shocker. He goes out of bounds on the full, and Spargo sees it. He'll have to stand the mark.
I was going to say, I still don't know what happened with that collision, because Pickett just bounced straight to his feet and then got involved like 5 seconds later.
Hunter with the free kick, left half back, kicks beyond the wing. What? What a fly! And what a hang! Oh, Jesus, he got some spring for a little fella. Short kick to Smith, goes inside 50. Where are the leapers? At the back, Norton flies. No mark taken. D's with the numbers. Hunt. Shocking hand pass that sold Oliver into a bit of trouble. He had lightning hands to get it to Jordan, who slammed it on his boot. Mark taken by Shacky, though, on halfway for the Dogs.
That's so shattering. There's no one here to enjoy that, and the crowd would have gone bananas.
That was like Max Gawn held him in the air for a while as Waitman sat on top of his shoulders. Phenomenal hang time and an absolute screamer for Cody Waitman. 13-point margin. Dogs with it. Shacky to Bailey Smith. Short kick to McRae. Forward 50 is pretty full for the Dogs. As McRae 60 out, kicking to the punt road end, looks for English. He flies, no mark, slips out the back. Waitman again. Waitman sockers it into the back of the net. Puts one through for the Dogs. He's doing it in the air. He does it off the ground. Cody Waitman with the major. And the Dogs with a bit more breathing room. They're back out by 19 points as we tick in the time on in the third term. The Western Bulldogs 9-4-58. Melbourne 5-9-39.
Oh, he's just a little jack in the box, this kid. I really enjoy watching him play. Won that big hang. He's sat on Max Gawn's head. I'm pretty sure Max is 208, so he's just gone straight up.
It was a secondary motion, wasn't he? He's taken the mark, and then he would have shocked himself, because he's almost like, I'm going to hit the ground here, and preparing for that, and all of a sudden he's just got that
extra lift, and Maxie's just helped him. But he's 178, I think, Cody Waitman, and his ability to jump that high. But then Jaden Hunt just rolling the dice inside 450. Long ball comes in, no body contact whatsoever, and just allows Cody Waitman to run in and kick a ball off the ground. Goal.
Back in the middle. D's need one again. Jackson tries to wrench it free. It's held to him. He's going through a couple of Bulldogs.
Roger Aldridge on the boundary.
The doctors have just reviewed the footage of the Ed Richards Cozzy Pickett incident, and they went straight over to Ed, and he did not look happy with what they said. He was clearly dazed after the initial contact, and I think he might be done for the night, or certainly facing a concussion test.
Great body work from Oliver to Neil Bullen inside 50. Fritsch was leading, but cutting across was Duray, and now the Dogs are out on the far wing, taking a bounce underneath the southern stand, and then losing it was Joe Hannison. Allowed Langdon back into the contest. He hand passes further afield to Neil Bullen, who has a bit of time to assess his options. Goes inboard. It's a good kick too to find Oliver.
Time on in the third term, big stage of the game. Oliver through the centre square, looks for Brayshaw, out on the fat side, can't take the mark. Hunter makes a contest and then follows up as Jordan puts his head over it. Hunter wanted it more, wins it across the half-back line, links up with Bontempelli, out by hand to Dale, kicks down the wing, and Waitman takes the mark in front of Lever. They've got one out on the overlap. It's Bruce who marks in front of the interchange. Rolls up the half forward, kicks it deep. Down there for the Dogs. Norton crashing the pack. Free kick. Over the shoulder. Free kick for Norton. And a little sloppy Stephen May in the marking contest, and Norton will be given the free kick about 30 metres out, just left of centre.
Technically, he didn't dispute it that much, but I'm sure it didn't really affect the marking contest that much, did it? But they're just standing up. Like that last goal from Waitman was against the Tide, really. The Melbourne have dominated, kept the ball in their forward half, had multiple entries, multiple shots, and then again something out of nothing.
They've seen off every charge so far, and Norton set shot. Boy, misses wildly out to the right.
That's a shaky runner.
Yeah.
It's not fluent. It doesn't have any momentum to it.
Not a good miss. 9-5 to 5-9. That's the game there. 20 points the Bulldogs lead. Time on in the third.
Kick comes long. Daniel roving outside of attacking 50. Knocks it to Rourke Smith. He could have pulled the trigger inside 50. Instead goes by hand to McRae, who goes further backwards to Williams. High kick. This will land just inside 50. Hunt cutting across. Dropped the mark at ground level. Mopped up. Hand pass came the way of Hibbert to Rivers, who kicks long quickly up to halfway, but the mark taken by Cordy. Cordy chip over the top. Dangerous kick. It hung in the air for a while. McRae had to stand under it. Took the mark, delivered low inside 50, got beyond Scott. Now a chance for Ugle Hagan. He becomes the tackler. Ball knocked down Viney. Lovely spin out of trouble. Hand pass to Hunt, who slams it on the boot up to halfway. It's coming back though. Shacky to hand pass over the top to Dale.
Dale kicks in the Jamara direction. The spoil comes at the back from Lever, close to the boundary line. Norton and Viney see it out of play. A throw in forward pocket for the Bulldogs. It's at 20 points at the moment after Melbourne kicked the first two of the third term. They played the better footy in the quarter, and yet it's 3 goals each in the term. And if the Dogs kick the next one, it'll be a new game high. 24 travelled third term. Deep forward for the Bulldogs. Jackson palms it down to Langdon, high up and under to centre half back. Spills to Petrarca. Hand pass to Neil Bullen. Kicks in the middle of the ground for Fritsch. Alongside the centre circle, spots Brown out the corner of his eye. Marks just forward of halfway. Moves it on quickly to the path of Langdon. Keeps running forward. Collects in the pocket. Links up with Pickett. Pickett snaps. Pickett goals. And Melbourne get one they needed. Right on the stroke of three-quarter time. And some reward for their dominance in this third term, which is now 25 minutes old. Melbourne moved to 6-9-45. The Bulldogs 9-5-59. The Dogs lead, cut to 14 points. Brett Delidio, Brendan Goddard.
Nice switch of play and gather from Bailey Fritsch in the middle of the ground. Ability to see Ben Brown, but Ed Langdon, take a bow with your work rate, mate, from the wing. Busted his nut to get forward. Took on the tackle of Cordy and got the hands free. Got it to Cozzy Pickett, snaps the goal. Cozzy leaves him hanging, doesn't even give him a little high five. Well, thanks, mate, for the handball.
Love that, didn't you?
Just straight back.
He did a good job too. So he's come from that original contest at centre half back, both he and Langdon, because Frisch was the only guy that was ahead of the footy. And just not to give up on it, just understanding the situation that Langdon was going to be under pressure and get over and support him.
Gone with the clearance, but good mark taken by Scott at true centre half back. He goes short to Bontempelli, called the play on, didn't travel 15. Bontempelli goes longer. It'll pitch in front of Bailey Smith. He's worked away from it by Salem. Hand pass to Gawn, who might go back to Salem. He does. Salem looking inboard. He goes back inside defensive 50 and finds Hibbert. Switches on here as well. Hibbert short to Petty. And Petty outside of defensive 50 to Hunt, who's in a bit of space at left half back. And he turns on the Jets.
Has 2 bouncers running like a track star down that southern wing as he turns and kicks deep forward. McDonald competes, spills front and centre. Spargo crashes in, collides with Daniel. Footy loose in the forward pocket. McDonald tries to soccer, can't. Spargo collects, tackled immediately. Says play on. Williams collects, he's tackled close to the boundary line. McDonald decides to keep it in. There's really 5 or 6 players over the footy, and the ump will call for it. Forward pocket for Melbourne. Time on in the third term. It's a 14-point lead for the Bulldogs. Meanwhile, at Docklands, halfway through the third term, Adelaide lead Hawthorn by 10.
Petrarca through the stoppage, tried to get the hand pass away to McDonald, ran out of space. Ball in, 30 around from the Melbourne goal. 27 minutes played in this third term. Dogs led by 21 at half-time. The lead cut back to 14. Now Neil Bullen from the stoppage. A hand pass up in the air. Good tackle by Spargo. Ball spills free. Petrarca flying shot at goal. Misses everything. Out of bounds on the full across the face of goal.
Nice spiral though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
but definitely this quarter felt Melbourne have dominated for long periods. So they need to carry this. I think another goal before the end of the quarter will kind of reward all their hard work this quarter.
Williams out to half-back. Waitman had it land on his chest, couldn't complete the mark. Viney's hand pass picked off. Here's Hunter. Two-handed takes the bounce in front of the interchange gates. Almost run down by Hunter. The tackle was late. And a downfield free to Bruce. Advantage applied. Norton streaming into the open goal. Takes the mark. Cashes in. Pops it through. And that'll hurt Melbourne again. Completely against the flow of play. The Dogs have every answer tonight. Time on in the third term, the Bulldogs 10-5-65, Melbourne 6-9-45, and all of a sudden the margin's back to 20 points.
You're right, Corbs. At the moment, the Dogs just have every answer. I wasn't sure. I didn't see. Was that really late, that tackle? Was it the Hunt one on Hunter? Somewhat. But everyone else sort of gave up on the play, didn't they? I saw quite a number of the D's defenders, Lever and May, both with their arms out, yelling to the umpire, and don't worry about that. Just get on your man. Oh, it's a bit high, that tackle. Yeah, that's what got him the free kick downfield. And everyone else had just stopped. Mate, Norton snuck out the back and ran into an open goal.
What should be if the backmen weren't watching up the field, they would argue that they don't know whose free kick it is. So the ball's still in an actual contest, right? So they blow the whistle. It is a down. I don't think they can play advantage after that.
Umpire throws the ball up this time. Socket out of the centre circles by Gawn. He gains about 20 metres. Still inside the centre square. Ball locked up. D's looking for one late here in this third term. Oliver through the stoppage. Threw it on the boot. And now Bontempelli throws it. Free kick for Melbourne. It's going the way of Neil Bullen, who's 60 from goal. He keeps it low, inside 50. Fritsch ran underneath the ball. Gawn the rover at the back, tried to burst the tackle. Got it to Viney, who threaded the needle from the top of the square. The D's answer straight back. And the margin is back to 14 points in favour of the Dogs with a couple of minutes to go.
Good numbers, good follow-up for Gawn. Ball hitting the ground. That's where his strengths lie as a ruckman, being 208 centimetres. But his ability to follow up, be a ground-level player, essentially play as another midfielder or have the ability of other smaller midfielders is extraordinary. So great follow-up, good finish in the end. And just looking back on that advantage, that Melbourne would be filthy. That doesn't make sense. It's a down-the-field free kick. The ball's actually in the air. So Melbourne players stop that are in that actual contest. And Bruce just takes the mark and plays on. The umpire calls play on it. That doesn't make it's not a continuous play, right? The ball's in the air.
Yep.
That doesn't make sense. Terrible decision.
3 lead changes in the opening quarter, and the Dogs have led since the 20-minute mark of the opening term. Margin still at 14 here as we close in on three-quarter time. Free kick in the middle, and it's going to go the Dogs' way. Liberatore taken high. Wrestling for the footy with Viney. Alongside the centre circles. Kicks out to half forward. Waitman goes for a climb again. Can't come down with it. Rivers kicks it straight up and down in the same spot. Lever whacks it forward for Melbourne. Into the path to Neil Bullen. Kicks out in front of the interchange. Jordan runs onto it. Hurried kick forward. Floats down the boundary line, northern side. Williams trying to claim the mark. It's juggled over the line, so a boundary throw-in. Just forward of halfway for Melbourne, kicking to the city end in his third term. 31 minutes travelled in the quarter, the Bulldogs by 14.
Gawn and English to do battle in the ruck again. Gawn down to Viney. Viney shrugged one tackle, not quite the second. And Hunter wrapped his whole body around him, made sure he was going nowhere. He receives the free kick at left half back. Lockie Hunter coming up for possession number 20 this evening. Kicks to left half forward. Bontempelli, the riser over the top, couldn't complete it on the way down. Now Smith, lightning hand pass out the back, finds English to Bontempelli by hand, who kicks a ball end over end off his opposite boot. Bit of space inside 50 here for Johannesson. He runs onto it. He's quickly bumped off it. Now Petty, and it might be a free kick to Hibbard. who went in low and hard, and he copped one high, leaving free kick inside defensive 50.
32 minutes into this third quarter. We have had 9 goals, 5 for Melbourne, 4 for the Dogs. 14 points the Bulldogs lead. They had it out to 21 at one stage in the quarter. A long off the Hibbard kick to the wing. Gawn on his hands and knees. Hands it out in front of Brayshaw. He sockers it forward right on the bell to end the third term. So Melbourne winning the quarter after trailing by 10 at quarter time and 21 at the half. The Demons kicked 5 goals to 4 in that third term. And the Bulldogs lead cut to 14 points as we turn for home. So the Western Bulldogs 10-5-65. Melbourne 7-9-51. The goal kickers for the Bulldogs, 2 for Bruce, 2 for Norton, and then singles for Bontempelli, Bailey Smith, Cody Waitman, Mitch Hannon, Caleb Daniel and Tim English. Meanwhile for Melbourne, 2 for Fritsch, and then singles for Petrarca, Viney, McDonald, Pickett and Brown. Time on third quarter at Docklands. Adelaide's lead cut to 5. They led by 15 at half-time, but Hawthorn so far have kicked 4 goals to 2 in the third term, so 20 minutes into the third quarter. Adelaide by just 5 points. It's game on here in the battle of the 2 top teams in Melbourne and the Western Bulldogs. The Doggies by 14 points on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital. It's three-quarter time, and this is Grandstand AFL.
This winter, you could triple wetsuit up for a surf in the dark, or you could snuggle in for a winter binge with Spicks and Specs on ABC iView.
Wow! Hang on.
Or Louis Theroux, or Smother, or Innocent, or Finding Alice, or Starstruck.
Oh, yeah!
Don't be surprised by all the jaw-dropping comedy, eye-popping drama, and mind-blowing television.
There's more.
Stream for free now on ABC iView.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Gawn's kick from the middle, slews off the side of his boot, straight to Oliver. His kick didn't go much further. He has a second go at it. This will go inside 50. High kick to the top of the square. Brown and McDonald, third in line, took the mark. In he comes for the perfect start in the second half. Tom McDonald knew as soon as it left his boot, it was sailing straight over the goal umpire's hat. Gawn with another clearance for the D's, goes inside 50. Lightning hand pass, it scoots up to Fridge for 2 in a minute. He's got it. And the D's have come out on fire. Liberazzore, who kicks to the top of the square. Hannon going back with the flight. Couldn't grab it. Now a chance front and centre. Garcia, hand pass to Norton to Bruce to goal. Hunter with the free kick, left half back, kicks beyond the wing. What a fly! And what a hang! Oh, Jesus, he got some spring for a little fella.
As McRae 60 out, kicking to the punt road end, looks for English. He flies, no mark, slips out the back. Waitman again. Waitman sockers it into the back of the net. Langdon keeps running forward, collects in the pocket, links up with Pickett. Pickett snaps, Pickett goals, and Melbourne get one they needed.
Neil Bullen, who's 60 from goal. He keeps it low, inside 50. Fritsch ran underneath the ball. Gawn, the rover at the back, tried to burst the tackle. Got it to Viney, who threaded the needle from the top of the square.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
They've kept them at arm's length all game, the Western Bulldogs. Every time Melbourne have made a challenge, they've been able just to push them back. Melbourne got within 9 points at one stage in that quarter, but the Dogs have a 14-point buffer as we look into the final term. The Bulldogs 10-5, Melbourne 7-9. Approaching the start of the final quarter. Roger Aldridge on the boundary. They're a little banged up, the Bulldogs.
Yeah, they certainly are, Corbin. They're going to be down a rotation in this last quarter as well. Ed Richards, confirmation from the Dogs. He's out of the game with concussion. So Alex Keith already subbed out in the first 15 minutes with a hamstring injury. Ed Richards now out with concussion. And Mitch Hannon is still battling that knee injury. He's been on and off a few times and just sort of showing the Docs where in the right knee it's hurting. But he's fighting it out. And he'll need to because, as I mentioned, they are 2 down, the Dogs.
Brett Delidio and Brendan Goddard through 3 quarters.
Well, it's been, as you've called, boys, the Dogs have had the answers for the Ds. They've fired a couple of shots. I thought, look out, here come the Ds. They've kicked 2 in 60, 70 seconds to start that quarter, but the Dogs just kept finding a way. A couple of real highlights in that quarter. Cody Waitman, wowee, what a hang. That is I've had a real close look. There's obviously the Shea Bolton one, the Jack Rewalt one going back with the flight. But to stand on a ruckman's head, please, that is huge. But just a couple of numbers as to why the Ds are probably struggling going forward. There's Christian Petrarca, he's worked pretty hard all night, had 9 disposals, 7 of those contested today. He kicked it at 0% for that quarter.
I don't even know how that's possible. Well, I do, but I don't think I've ever seen that.
You said he had a really nice-looking torpedo that went out of bounds on the full, so that's an effective kick.
That was a good spiral.
Yeah. Jaden Hunt has had 7 kicks, 9 touches for the quarter, but he kicked it at 14%. Like, it's just a little bit more efficiency. We know the rain's cleared up. That I don't think there's as much of an excuse.
Brayshaw's had 2 kicks, gone at 0%. Jordan's gone at 0%. Langdon had 1 kick that quarter, went at 0%. Isaiah Pickett had 4 and went at 25. So
James Harms only had the 2 touches in that quarter. Obviously been playing on Liberatore. Libba had the 7 that quarter, but just a little bit.
Yeah, so that ties in just with the lack of efficiency, just the decisions going forward. So the goals they did get came off a bit of hard work again, making, like both teams, in these conditions, you kind of make something out of nothing. But it's definitely a stand. I did say that Petrarca, that's been a thorn in his game, or is a thorn in his game, just his disposal can really let him down at times, because he does some really, really special things. And I don't think he'll ever change it now, because I think there's a little technical flaw in there somewhere. But yeah, you're right, Lids, the momentum was, I think we both felt was with Melbourne for longer periods, and Bulldogs had a little period, I think, there for 5 minutes or so, but it was against the tide for most of it. A lot of the game played between the arcs, but when they did go forward, they were just efficient. Numbers of the contest, their smalls playing their roles, just the little things, and that's what makes a difference on nights like these, because I don't think you can question team's effort, both intensity, really good, tackle numbers, 60-62, which is kind of standard for these conditions too. Balls.
We say these conditions, it's hardly monsoonal out there, but the grass is a little bit wet.
Yeah, so it's still wet, so it's still hanging around, so it's still slippery, but yeah, just their bullies they need to fix, and the Bulldogs, if they're able to hang on and just continue to make something out of nothing, they'll get the win.
Western Bulldogs by 14 points. Into the final turn we go. McRae first clean possession. Hand pass away to Bontempelli. Gets the centre break for the Dogs. Kicks to half forward. May just kills it over the boundary line. The big heavy spoil in front of the pack. The Demons haven't made their sub as yet. Tom Sparrow for the 7th time this year as the medical sub. Last 3 weeks running. The D's, in fact, have only made the sub in 3 games this year out of the 17 completed matches they've played. From the boundary throw-in, Gawn wins the tap close to the boundary line, knocks it down to Harms. He's tackled, taken to ground. A ball up just inside the boundary line, so 70 metres out from the Dogs' attacking goal. Bulldogs coming home to the city end of the ground. 50 seconds into the final quarter, Bulldogs by 14.
English to Liberatore to Bontempelli, who kicks to the top of the square. Bruce nudged his opponent underneath the ball rather. Now a chance for Hibbert, who has a fumble, and then he's happy enough to see it over for a boundary throw-in. Hannon shoves him almost onto the AstroTurf. He gets up, a little worse for wear.
Where are those high-prong cheers coming from?
Not sure. Oh, there's a couple of...
The Bulldogs players are standing in the race there.
There's a couple of extra Bulldogs down there. Now a chance inside attacking 50, and Little Crude was Harms in that attack on the man, and the man getting up is Liberatore, as he often is at the bottom of a pack.
That is so stiff.
He's almost Liberatore falling across the legs of Harms.
Yeah, exactly. He's gone to ground. He could have stood up in that.
He has taken his legs out.
Could have stood up, and Harms is almost bent down to pick up the ball, and he's...
That's a toss of the coin, that one, isn't it? Like, that can go either way.
Again, feel the game, umpire, please.
Liberatore with a shot at goal from 40 out. This would hurt the D's. He's kicked it off the instep. Does it hold? Not quite. One behind. The opening behind of the final term after a couple of minutes. 10-6-66 the Dogs. 7-9-51 the D's.
Old footy gods at work. As May into Hibbert. Hand pass away to Salem. Long down the line for Melbourne. Brown gets rid of Duray, takes the mark. Overhead. Defensive side of the wing, turns and kicks in the direction of Petrarca, who's forward. Edged underneath the footy. Williams comes up with it for the Dogs. Back flank, hand pass to Hunter, away to Shackey. Now to Williams, kicks down the boundary line. There's a push. Pickett, just a little shove to Williams after he disposed of the footy, and the kick's coming back to Bailey Williams.
Is the bum now part of the back?
Oh, I've never understood why people do that, but that's just me.
Bulldogs by 15 points, 3 minutes into the final term. Williams across half-back for the Bulldogs.
Back to Shaki inside defensive 50, who switches play out to left half-back, where Daniel takes the mark, has a bounce, just waits to make the right decision, and it's a short left foot kick that finds Cordy, who was diving down low. Cordy, barely 15, called to play on. McRae had to wheel and go quickly. He went out wide, no mark taken. Bontempelli there for assistance. Boundary line will win, and that's where he gets it, 70 around from the Dogs' goal.
Final quarters this year, Melbourne have won 10 of their 17 final terms. The Western Bulldogs, identical record. And a boundary throw-in. Both rucks pushed out of the way. His Liberatore skids in, extracts it for the Bulldogs. Hand pass away to English. Bontempelli kicks out wide to Bailey Smith. Closes to the arc of 50. Kicks to the goal square. Lever backing back. Didn't get a hand on it. It skids across the face. And another behind for the Bulldogs, this time to Bailey Smith. So a couple of misses. Pepper in here to start the final term. 4 minutes old. The Bulldogs by 16. 10-7 to 7-9.
May with the kick-in duties. Spins the ball in his hand a couple of times, and then he's going to launch long. Gawn his target. Looks back into the pack. Brown smartly tapped it to the advantage of Pickett, who left it for Oliver. Now, Gawn was doing a bit of ruck work there as he received the hand pass, tapped it to Petrarca, and then he got it to Rivers, kicks out wide, and it'll just sit here for Langdon, who's in a bit of space on the wing. He's got Harms long, shorter though. He's got McDonald, who takes the mark on his chest, 70 from goal, kicks a good one to 60, where Neil Bullen takes the mark, given a bit of a shove afterwards. No 50.
He's got to go. Oh, he's too late now. The numbers are back.
He's just waiting for everyone to flood forward at the moment. Pokes the kick into the pocket. Where are the Flyers? Brown in front takes the mark. Only off a couple of steps too. Reached high, and that was higher than anyone else.
Well done. We've spoken a couple of times about his ability to keep on the move, and we know how much he needs to do that. But he let up initially to Neil Bullen. Didn't get used the first time in New Call Beach. He needed to go. The numbers were back, but he kept on his bike, found the little pocket, and just dropped into that hole. And a nice little kick from Neil Bullen gave him every chance.
And being on the move continually asks questions your defender.
Yes.
And in that position, his defender initial lead, but then comes off him to protect space and leaves him to have a run and jump at the footy.
Toughest shot at the night, but perhaps the most important. He's put it out of bounds on the full.
Wow.
That's disappointing from Ben Brown.
That one didn't look pretty going out of bounds on the full.
No. It's not too many that do, is there?
It's only that Torpy that I've heard tonight.
Torpy.
6 minutes into the final term, 16 points the margin the Bulldogs' way. There's a free kick, though, as they try to exit defensive 50. And May push down in front of the pack so he can just pump it back inside the forward arc for Melbourne. Puts it to the corridor. Down there, Bontempelli spills off hands to McDonald. He gives it away to Neil Bullen. His kick smothered, and the Bulldogs come up with it off the back flank. Bontempelli sweeping hand pass away to Hunter. He goes back by hand. The kick here from Garcia's a good one as he hits up Waitman, who marks in front of the Melbourne interchange. So the Dogs just control the footy. A 16-point lead for the Western Bulldogs. 6 played final term.
Not too far where he put in his contender for mark of the year in the third quarter. Kicks up towards Norton. Standing in front, though, Petty. Got a hand in there to spoil the hand pass. Now a chance at ground level there for Jordan. Jordan's over it with Viney. They sorted it out. Got it to Petty. His kick smothered. And then it spills over for a boundary throw-in. Salem can't keep it in. Just forward of centre here. On the wing. Beneath the MCC members here at an empty MCG. The Dogs lead it by 16 points. We've played 7 minutes in this final term. Toss back into play. English reached over the top and just got his palm to it. Garcia was looking for a teammate, couldn't find one. Oliver off his left, kicked as soon as he grabbed the ball. He works its way about 30 metres around the boundary line. Punched away from Jackson by Cordy on that occasion and out. But importantly for the D's, they've gained about 50 metres.
Oliver's up to 34, had 15 in the first quarter, 23 contested for the night.
What's the record?
28, I thought.
Yeah, you caught me on the hot bench. I'll have to check it out.
Stats, man.
16 points, the Bulldogs lead. Boundary throw-in. Harms, hand pass to Oliver. Hurried kick forward here for the Demons inside the forward 50, but Daniel there. Hand pass away to Cordy. Short kick to McRae. Marks on the back flank. He's over 30 again, so that's 17 out of 18 games this year. He's over the 30 mark. That's possession 32. Kicks down the wing. Waitman trying to leap again, and at the back, Lever takes the chest mark. Members wing.
Lever. Reach inside 50. Brownie's target. It got over the back of the pack. Jackson bursts onto it. Just got away from him at the last moment. Cordy there to mop up for the Dogs. Works the 1-2 with Daniel. Then kicks immediately. Daniel has taken 2 ground without the ball. So it'll come all the way back to the man with the helmet in the right back pocket for the Western Bulldogs. Daniel with the free. Spargo stands the mark.
He'd be happy you didn't refer to him as the smallest man in the AFL.
No, I thought about doing that, but everyone
or on
says
the ground, or just referring to his height in general.
Daniel, long kick. May over the top, spoils, then becomes the tackler, knocks the ball free. It spills to Hannon of the Dogs, who snaps. Norton playing from behind, couldn't outreach Lever. He did get a hand pass in there to spoil the hand pass from Salem, and stepping over the boundary line is Rivers, happy to see it over.
The record most contested possessions in a game since the start was kept. 2008, Ben Cunnington, 32 in a game. 32. 29 for Dangerfield and Josh Kennedy. 28 is the season record. That was Darcy Parish a little earlier in the year. So 23 tonight for Oliver so far. From the boundary throw-in, McRae hooks a kick forward to the flank, but Melbourne win it. Salem, hand pass away to Petrarca, now off to Hunt. Kicks down the boundary line, member side. McDonald gets rid of Duray, takes the mark between wing and half forward. Kicks inside 50. Brown goes at it one-handed, can't mark. Slips out the back to Fritsch. Under pressure, hand pass to Spargo. Drilled in a tackle and dispossessed. Dogs with the numbers. Cordy's hand pass a little loose. Stolen away by Viney. Fends off one, pushes off Cordy. Centering kick, superb.
Good play.
Jack Viney hits up Pickett, who marks back in the corridor, 25 out straight in front.
Really good.
Brilliant.
Really good. Yeah, the ability to get himself free, a couple of stiff arms, break, shake off a tackle, but then to stay composed enough and not just have a flying shot, put it out into space and allow Pickett to have a relatively easy uncontested mark right in front.
Deserves a goal assist as Cosy Pickett comes skipping in right in front. The Demons will not go away. Pickett puts it through, and the Dogs lead cut to 10. 10 minutes travelled in the final term. Melbourne 8-9-57. The Bulldogs 10-7-67, having led most of the night on Grandstand AFL. Brett Delidio, Brendan Goddard.
Yeah, you mentioned he actually surprised me with his calmness under pressure there. Jack Viney, again, a guy that decision-making, kicking, questionable at times, but a really good decision. Just, again, a weighted kick. He steadied, he straightened up, did everything right, and found Keziah Pickett. And they were outnumbered at that contest initially, but it was, again, good follow-up from the Melbourne forwards. Spargo, Ben Brown was in there providing pressure, then got on the spread. Arguably could have got it. It just wasn't enough support from the Bulldogs midfielders or forwards to able to clog that gap and get numbers back.
Diesel fancy their chances from here. 10 points in arrears of the Dogs at the moment. They might have another clearance, although Viney had a fumble at the crucial moment. Hand pass from Smith to Bontempelli. Loops one across to McRae. Back point of the centre square. Kicks long. Hunt gets in front and takes a good mark in front of Liberatore. Looked out of position, but made some ground in the last moments. He gives it immediately to Hibbert. Hibbert's kick doesn't reach over the outstretched arm of Marcus Bontempelli, who gives it to Smith. Smith, poor kick. Time here for May to recover. Gets it on a couple of bounces, and then his kick is a shocker straight back to Smith, and the Dogs are going to come right back inside 50.
Bailey Smith rolls around between wing and half forward and pumps it deep inside 50. Bruce with the sit, can't complete the mark. Spills underneath Hannon. Pack forms around him. Comes out the back door of the pack. Bruce's hand pass picked off. Hunt through centre half back. Comes charging away with it for the Demons. Kicks to McDonald in the middle of the ground. Hits Duray on the back of the calf, not looking at the footy. Spills to Brown. Pokes his pass into the forward 50. McDonald and Williams chase after it. Williams there first for the Dogs. Links up with Duray. Slips over with possession. Spills okay though. Fortunately for the Dogs to Williams. He straightens up and Shackey marks at centre half back. Bulldogs by 10. 13 played in the last.
He's got some time, normally a good user. It was a good kick to Dale, who dropped his sitter. Spargo there for company. Dale can't get his arm free to get the hand pass away, holding the ball.
Good tackle.
Pinned the arm, and Bailey Dale couldn't quite get his arm free, and Spargo with the free kick.
Like a little staffy with a bone then, wasn't he? Just didn't want to let go of
Jack
it.
Russell. More of a Jack Russell stature, isn't he?
Spargo into the left forward pocket. Brown might have been shoved out of it. He was. Free kick to Ben Brown. Left forward pocket. A chance for the D's to draw within one kick.
Taylor Dray has found himself on the biggest forward at times.
On a slow play.
In a slow play, yeah. You just wonder, where was Josh Shackey? Where was Cordy? What were they doing at that time? But he just tried to use his body, Taylor Dray, and just too hard as Ben Brown was lining himself up to try and jump for the mark.
His last kick for goal was poor, out of bounds on the full. This one important, 13 minutes into the final term. The D's trail by 10. This to bring them back within a straight kick. He lines up, hits it pretty well, hits it perfectly. And the D's are within 4 points as Ben Brown kicks his second from the boundary. Oh, we've got a game here. Brett Delidio and also Brendan Goddard, your experts on Grandstand AFL.
Well, that's the Ben Brown we know. Come to love, wasn't it, Lids?
That's it.
Well, right behind that one, so it never looked like missing. But yeah, Taylor Dray's, Josh Shackey in his defence was actually on Jackson in the goal square. So Ace Cordy, even if he was caught out on a different opponent.
Or his brother Zane.
Zane, sorry. Must find the tall. Bailey Williams tried to get back to help out. And again, Taylor Dray just laying body, which is the right thing to do, but just overplayed it a little and had to mark that ball, at least get a hand on it to justify the contact to Ben Brown. So with a sniff, this is the game we all hoped for, and it's a close one, and then all the hard work that Melbourne have done and have done in that third quarter in particular is coming to fruition.
Melbourne haven't been this close since the 27-minute mark of the opening term. Petrarca gets the centre clearance out to half forward. Jackson collects the footy, half pass away to Viney, hands it over his shoulder to Langdon. 55 out, kicks to the top of the goal square for Melbourne. Off the chest of Jordan, can't complete the mark. In front of the behind post, Hunter picks it up. Hunter backs it through. No, he didn't. He kept it alive. I think Brown thought he was going to rush the behind. Hunter's hand pass to the back pocket to Bailey Smith. Great chase and tackle. Forcing the slippery kick and the skidding ball was Neil Bullen. Picked up off the back flank. The Bulldogs drive it hurriedly down the wing. In there is Bruce. His hand pass goes backwards and eventually out of play. The kick came from Garcia down the line and a boundary throw in. Southern wing. Bulldogs by 4 points. Melbourne with all the momentum. 15 played in the final quarter.
The Dogs have had all the answers all night. Can they find a goal somehow here?
Well, the D's are up and about. You can see their intensity now, their forward pressure. Everyone's involved that's around the footy, locking the ball inside 50.
Costly mistake by Harms. Tried to take on the tackle. The ball was not free. He's paid holding the ball. So English with the free kick behind centre wing. Switches on if he wants. He was directed to go there. Shackey standing at centre half back on his own. Instead, he goes out wider, and Daniel takes the mark. In the long sleeves this evening. Haven't had too much rain in this second half. It has dried up a fair bit. He goes back to English down the line. No mark taken. Smith, now Neil Bullen, swung around. His hand pass straight to English. Hand pass to Bontempelli, who had a fumble. A chance for Langdon, who picks it up, goes down the line. Williams from behind spoils Jackson, front and centre. Roving nicely is Daniel. Off to Liberatore. Liberatore pulls the kick inboard. It's a good one too. And Smith takes the mark on his chest.
So Bailey Smith goes short to Joe Hannison, who marks in that launch pad. 70 out and hits up Jamara Ugle-Hagan. Out on the searching lead, takes the mark. Hitting up on the left half forward flank, and he'll shoot from 40 out, 45-degree angle.
Just far too much time and space there. You know, Joe Hannison can make good decisions by hand and foot with given that much time, and this is going to be Jamara's game, isn't it? You feel lead up, quick off the mark, give him a sniff.
Just one kick tonight. His second of the evening. Jamara Ugle-Hagan off target. Bruce competes next to the boundary line, and the behind post, and out it goes off hand. So a boundary throw in. Forward pocket for the Bulldogs. A quiet night for Ugle-Hagan. Just 4 touches, 2 kicks, 2 handballs through 3.5 quarters.
Yeah, you're right. There was someone that just dropped off. I don't know who it was, Johannes, that gave him too much time and space, particularly with a kick that was inside 45 in the corridor.
Garcia's hand pass. Sorry, BJ, is knocked down. Oliver taken off, but Bontempelli spins onto his left and kicks the goal. Jumps into Bruce's arms, and the lead back to 10 points in favour of the Dogs. Again, something out of nothing.
It's just Harms, I think, was actually accountable for the Bont. And again, he just made poor decision. He got caught ball watching his boundary side of the Bont. I'm not sure if he was setting up to actually receive the ball as opposed to defend. That's Harms I'm talking about. And then, again, just from a contest, it looked like Melbourne were going to win. It was a great tackle, good pressure, but the ball fumbled out. I'm not sure who it was, maybe Scott, that gave it to the Bont. But again, Bont on his left foot coming in the corridor, he's never going to miss. But it's just that positioning from Harms. I know Harms had actually McRae, so he was actually unattended.
It was Liver got it out to Bontempelli. That's their second stoppage goal, and he's kicked both of them.
Yep, and so that's something that the coaches at Goody won't be very happy with, because stoppage goals should be lucky to get one a game.
Get the first of the game, as Lid said, in that fashion, and now follows up with a critical one here in the final term. McRae hurried kick forward. It's chopped out and ricochets straight to the bottom. Hits up Jamara, leading straight up the middle. What delivery from Bontempelli and Ugle-Hagan up to meet it. He'll shoot from 35 out, dead in front.
What I love about this is that, yes, we know he's a good player. And he stands up, he kicks that goal, but then he gets involved in the very next play. Good players just have a way, don't they? Have a knack of influencing big moments, big games. He stood up, right foot, on your chest, wherever you like it, Jamara.
To finish off the service from Bontempelli, Jamara Ugle-Hagan. His set shot is good. The Dogs back in rhythm, back out by 16 points. And just about every Bulldog on the ground rushes to Jamara Ugle-Hagan. As we tick in the time on final term, Dogs by 16.
Yeah, you're right, Liz. He's just finding a way on his right too, which looked a little bit unorthodox, but... And you made mention as the night's dried up and it stopped raining, Jamara's got those 2 lead-ups in the last 5 minutes, but that'll be his go, just his ability, his agility just to find. I think I've seen enough that he's going to have a forward. He's almost got a forward craft already, or more than some of the young forwards I've seen. Just the ability to stay on the move and then just protect his space. And again, you made mention of his pace off the mark. There's nothing that Lever could do. The kick outstanding, but then his ability just to find that, a couple of feet of space that he needed. So great finish in the end too.
Back in the middle, Gawn tries to slap it out. Bontempelli again down to McRae. Kicks high to half forward. Gus there, got separation, dropped the chest mark. Salem tackles him at ground level and locks it to him. It'll be a ball up. Just inside attacking 50 for the Western Bulldogs. They've been challenged in this last quarter. Kicked the last 2. Margin back to 16 after it was 4 points just 4 minutes ago. From the stoppage, Viney, his kick smothered. Petrarca, his kick smothered. Great effort here from the Dogs in their forward half. Hand pass comes the way of Ugle-Hagan. His kick was smothered as well. Finally, Hunter gets a bit of space at the top of 50. Slides one towards the goal. There's a mark out the back. It's Hannon in the goal square. And the former D might just sink them.
Well, nothing better than getting a mark in the goal square to put the nail in the coffin against your former team.
Is there going to be a bit of fake
bravado
after this?
I hope not. Just celebrate, boys, with your teammates.
Yeah.
Mitch Hannon from the top of the square to make the margin 22 points in this final term. He delivers. No bravado this time. Just a nice little silent fist pump, and all of his teammates run to him to get around him. A bit of chat going on. Stephen May comes in and sorts things out. The margin 22 points in favour of the Dogs.
Well, we said not that long ago that the Dogs have had the answer every single time, and they've managed to fire shots off the back of their skipper Marcus Bontempelli getting the first and then delivering to Jamara Ugle-Hagan. And that was a work of Lockie Hunter being able to step through, take on a couple of tacklers. I think he's pinning the ears back and was trying to make the distance from 35 and didn't make it, but well read by Mitch Hannon in the goal square. Nice way to cap off for your game against your former side, that's for sure.
It's 3 goals in 4 minutes, and now it's the biggest lead of the night. Bulldogs by 22 points after Melbourne got within 4 earlier in the quarter. Gawn wins the tap. Oliver met front on by English, and he'll get the free inside the centre circles. So Clayton Oliver, possession number 36, kicks to centre half forward. Brown arriving late. Harms went up in front. Spills down to Neil Bullen. He's tackled. Pack forms around him and the umpire says, I'll have it. 45 out from the Demons goal. Had 3 lead changes with the first 3 goals of the night, and then the Bulldogs have led from that point on. The closest Melbourne got was within 4 earlier in the term. Gorn Clever just swats it down behind with a clenched fist. Petrarca onto it in the pocket, straightens up, kicks backwards to centre half forward. Out the back of the intended target, Pickett collects. Hand pass away to Hunt, gives it to Langdon. Langdon 55 out across the body. Brown back with the flight. Bontempelli in the other direction. Spoils it out of play. And Marcus Bontempelli, what a big final quarter with the game on the line. Kicked a goal, set up another. And now on the last line of defence, putting in some work. The Bulldogs by 22 points, 24 travelled in the last.
He's had a few big moments in this final term, the Bont. Toss back in. Dale tries to ride the Pickett tackle, couldn't do so, pinned to him, ball up. 23 played, final term on Grandstand AFL. 22 points the margin in favour of the Dogs. Neil Bullen with the clearance, high kick, it'll land inside the forward pocket. Fritsch from 3 deep goes to fist, knocked out of play next to the behind post.
Shatty hasn't looked out of place, has he, down back? He's been more than serviceable, been in the right spot at the right times, a couple of times, done very well.
Dogs lost Alex Keith in the opening 15 minutes to the hamstring. Ed Richards with a head knock in the third quarter, both out of the game. And it's the Bulldogs 22 up late in the piece. And the boundary throw in. Oh, hurried kick forward. Neil Bullen lying face down on the turf. He misses. Falling to ground in the tackle from Cordy. And behind. So margin now 21 points the Bulldogs' way. 25 into the final term.
Dale to kick in for the Dogs. As Duray short in the left back pocket. Instead there's a free kick. It's 50. 50 against Cozzy Pickett, who was standing the mark. Must have just crept over at the final moment.
That's stiff, I saw that.
The other game at Docklands, Adelaide still in front of Hawthorn by 7 points, 14 minutes into the final term.
Dale short to McRae. McRae out wider to the wing. Bontempelli takes the mark. Just looking to kill time a little bit here, the Western Bulldogs. Over 3.5 minutes left. The margin is 21 points. Long kick by Bontempelli inside 50. May takes it on his chest. Good contested mark.
So May, the short way home, kicks to centre half back for Petrarca, and he goes with a long drop punt out wide to Brayshaw. Marks in front of Hunter. Down the northern boundary line, just chips it over the top of Hunter on the mark to Hibberd. Desperation certainly belongs with the D's here. Oh, Hibberd kicked it towards the guy coming off the ground, and Viney came straight on off the interchange to take the mark. We haven't seen that too often.
Ever.
So Viney straight onto the ground taking the mark as he kicks inside the forward 50. Offhand spills to McDonald. Hand pass away to Oliver. Gives it to Pickett. Hurried kick top of the goal square. Few bodies wrestle. Langdon goes to ground. Brown fighting on with the foot. He can't get boot to ball. Here's Dale, last line of defence, and he kicks it through for a rush behind. Then a minor score. That was incredible. So Viney just had to wait to come through the interchange gates to take the mark in the field of play, and the kick was already on the way. Bulldogs by 20 points, 26 travelled in the last.
Wouldn't have been a catch in cricket, came from outside the boundary as he leapt inside the field of play. Quite amazing. Long kick out of defence is a good one, although Liberatore couldn't complete the mark. Chance for Melbourne. Brayshaw to the top of the square. Dogs have the numbers. Dale got a spoil in there. Neil Bullen, his kick smothered. Cozzy Pickett tried to poke a toe at it. Nothing doing. McRae went for seconds. Daniel, smart kick off the outside of his boot. Got it under the man on the mark and then was able to find Bailey Smith. He hand passes to Liberatore outside of defensive 50. Up to Hannon, who takes a good chest mark on a strong lead.
So Mitch Hannon, couple of goals tonight. Against his former side, he finds Liberatore, who marks just forward of halfway. Right on the boundary line, northern side. Liberatore looks straight into the corridor. Good option, hits up Cordy. Geray's all by himself out on the fat side. He takes the mark in front of the southern wing. Looks inside the forward 50. Fly down there from Rourke Smith, had a hand on it. Back pocket though, Langdon will collect. Hurried kick out to half-back for Melbourne. Touched on the way through. Lands in Geray's lap. He's tackled immediately by McDonald. And we'll have a ball up here just inside the boundary line, half forward for the Dogs. 28 minutes into this final term. Bulldogs by 20.
Gawn down to Oliver. Left foot kick out of the congestion, and it lands just out of play. Out of bounds on the full. Free kick going the way of the Bulldogs. Dale to take it. Dale just forward of halfway, underneath the southern stand. Kicks long and flat English, although he's outmarked on that occasion by Gawn, who took a good one close to the ground. Switches on here for the ruckman. He goes to Hibbert in the square to Salem. Salem takes a bounce, gets to the left back pocket, kicks long, looking for Brayshaw, who had positioning on Hunter. Ball got out the back, as did Brayshaw, but the boundary line beat him. It'll be a throw-in in front of the MCC members.
So losses this year to Richmond in a showdown on Friday night earlier this year. Melbourne at Docklands, Geelong after the siren at Caninia Park in Sydney. So against a few of the other competition heavyweights. And the Western Bulldogs, they needed a scalp late in the year just to try and shore up their premiership status. They're going to get it tonight. And not only that, they'll replace Melbourne on top of the table. A free kick from the boundary throw-in as English and Gawn lock up, and English will get the free. He retreats back with the kick to Williams. We'll get to 14 wins, so 14-4 for the Bulldogs. String a couple together after that loss to Sydney back in round 17. Games on the run home, they still play Adelaide, Essendon, Hawthorn and Port Adelaide. So 2 top 8 teams, 2 from outside as the kick heads down the wing. And Melbourne win it back. Here's Petty across half-back, links up with Salem. His kick across the back line finds Hunt.
Hunt gets it and goes. Good flat kick. He's able to find Jordan, who hand passes inboard. High kick from Langdon, who'd followed up. Kicks to the top of the square. No mark taken. Dogs at ground level. Hunter goes out wide, although it's going to be a turnover. It's coming straight back. Hunt takes it on his chest. Kicks inside 50, and Pickett takes the mark. The siren goes. Cosy Pickett will have a shot after the siren. The score 13-7-85, the Bulldogs. Melbourne 9-11-65. The margin 20 points. The only thing to be determined is whether that is the final margin or not. Pickett will have to kick this over 50 metres.
Got him, Maisie?
I reckon he can, yep. He starts his run-up from outside the boundary. And he'll kick from about 48 in the end. Gets very close to the man on the mark and kicks at about 30. That almost went as high as it went long. But that's a big win for the Bulldogs. It's one apiece between these two. So you feel like there'll be bigger games between them later in the year.
Red, white, and blue. We come out running. Bulldogs through and through. Bulldogs fight and Bulldogs roar. Our very best. 'Cause you can't beat the boys of the Bulldog breed. We're the team of the mighty West.
The Bulldogs 13-7-85 to the D's 9-11-65, a 20-point victory. They led by 10 at quarter time, 21 at half time and 14 at three-quarter time before closing out with a 20-point victory. Goal kickers for the Western Bulldogs, 2 each to Bruce, Hannon, Norton and Bonzapelli, 1 each to Smith, Daniel and English, Ugelhagen and Waitman. Meanwhile for the D's, 2 each to Brown, Pickett and Fritsch, singles to Viney, McDonald and Petrarca. The Dogs by 20.
Sons of the West, red, white and blue. We come out snarling, Bulldogs through and through. Bulldogs fight and Bulldogs roar. We give our very best. 'Cause you can't beat the boys of the Bulldog breed. We're the team of the mighty West. 'Cause you can't
20 points in the finish, 13-7-85, Melbourne 9-11-65. They get their scalp, the Western Bulldogs, just to shore up their premiership credentials that they're real all right. And after a few slip-ups against the other top teams in the competition, they beat Melbourne here tonight to replace them on top of the league. 13-7-85 to Melbourne 9-11-65, a big win for the Western Bulldogs. They're 14-4. So much of it in the pre-game was built around the matchup of Petrarca and Bontempelli. Well, they both had 31. Petrarca kicked a goal. Bontempelli kicked 2. He was pivotal in that final quarter to help get the Dogs home. They saw off a big challenge from Melbourne, who trailed by as many as 21 points. They drew within 4 halfway through that last quarter. The Bont kicked one of his own, set up the next to Ugelhagen. In the end, they kicked the last 3 to finish over the top by 20. Brendan Goddard and Brett Delidio on Grandstand AFL. Immediate reactions to all that?
Well, 5 minutes of brilliance in the last quarter seals a victory for Bulldogs, really. I don't think Melbourne will be too deflated. It is a loss. So there are a number of things. The things that stick out for me is their clearance work with the dominance of Gawn, who's had 57 hit-outs, and combined with Jackson and McDonald, is 73 hit-outs to like 18 for the game.
Wow.
So they're going to ask questions of where are they going, mate, and what are our midfielders doing, the percentages of how often they're falling into the space where we expect it. And because from that, I made mention of it, from clearances and stoppages, you're able to get ground position because generally you've got time to set up. So your structure ahead of the ball and behind it or all over the ground is really sound. So if you are, these are the top 2 teams we're talking about it. So we suggest it's almost ideal 98% of the time. So, and from that, the kick comes in, their forwards don't get outmarked if it's not laced out, and then their forwards get to work, the small forwards get to work. This is the Bulldogs, they lock it in. So that's where clearances are so important, particularly on a night like this where it rained early, cleared up, and we're able to see a bit more free-flowing football where Jamari got on the end of 2 great lead-ups from Johannes and Bontempelli. But other than that, it was Bulldogs' ability. Structurally, I think they were better based on what we saw because they were making something out of nothing. The kick inside 50, bring it to ground, Smalls get to work. The link-up goal kind of from nothing. So you'd suggest that structurally they were better, and arguably they, the old analogy, they wanted it more, but they were just a bit more intense around the footy inside their forward half, because that's what it felt like. There was that third quarter where Melbourne, I think we were all inside 50 numbers favoured the Bulldogs at the end of the day by 4, but periods where Melbourne were dominating, they just couldn't capitalise through their own fault, really. So mostly the ball use, the decisions, some of their forwards in the wrong position when they had time and space, their midfielders to deliver the footy. So, and then you do have to give credit to the Bulldogs defenders at times when they were under the pump for periods where there was re-entry, the re-stoppage, and they held up the boys. So plenty to work on.
Yeah, undersized down back, weren't they, the Dogs? Like, if you think they only had 2 big boys in Shaki and Cordy, and the rest are all our size,
mediums, Dale, Williams, which are their ball users, which they're still versatile enough to be able to play on, that medium to tall player. But they're generally there for
Does that stack up late?
For their offence. So,
against that Geelong forward line, when they're fully firing, Hawkins, Cameron, Rowan, Dangerfield, if he's down there, does that stack up that smaller forward line?
Oh, no, it doesn't. Well, you'd suggest it wouldn't.
Especially
come fall finals time when there's a few more contests and against good teams are able to create enough separation and isolation to get Hawkins free on a Cordy, or it may be a Cameron on a Shaki. So, but anyway, saying that, Keith's probably got a month out ahead of him, so that's going to be a big loss. But there lies an opportunity for the man that we all thought was going to be coming into the game playing as a forward and questioning their decision making in their selection and going in too tall. But he's come in, and as you alluded to, Lids, for most of the night he didn't look out of place. So and he'd be learning. So it's a question we can ask. We got an interview afterwards. No, we're not allowed to, are we?
On the phone. No, hopefully on the phone.
On the phone. So it'll be a question. Where's that headed? Is that a long-term thing? I think it's good. I think he looks more comfortable. Gives him responsibility too. Like a real clear task. As a forward, you can kind of get lost in just getting the footy as such and finding the footy.
It's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. So now he's got where's my man? So that's his main focus. You know, again, drilled into us at a young age, defend first.
That's your reference point, isn't it?
That's your reference points, but it'll be that. Where's your man? So he's got something to concentrate, keeping engaged in the whole time. And then when they do win the footy, mate, go and spread, get used in offence, all that kind of thing, and it becomes more natural for him. So I think it's a great move.
What about on a dry track? Is that the test for him?
Yeah, that's right, because he's the chance of him being exposed tonight are slim based on the conditions. So the ball spending more time on the ground and the bigs having less of an influence actually in the air.
More from Lids and BJ coming up. The Crows by 19 points with 26 seconds to go, so they're going to beat Hawthorn across town at Docklands. But it's all about what's happened here tonight. The Western Bulldogs with their biggest win yet of season 2021. They beat Melbourne by 20 points. They're on top of the table. We'll duck inside the rooms shortly and get some reaction from the Western Bulldogs camp. I've noticed there's a phone which has got a FaceTime call on it. I'm sure that would be Josh Dunkley, who's in quarantine at the moment for the full 14 days after visiting a Tier 1 exposure site. So he's going to listen into the song, and we'll drop an ear across it as well. Let's take you inside the Dogs' rooms. So 20 points in the finish. The Dogs over Melbourne here tonight at the MCG. They go to top of the table. Now, the ramifications here for the Demons is they could drop to third should Geelong beat Richmond tomorrow, that game here at the MCG. And the three of us will be back for that. Yep. You got the other game tomorrow, Essendon and GWS.
Yep.
But we'll be back for Richmond and Geelong tomorrow. It's a big win for the Dogs tonight, given that they led Geelong at the final siren. Obviously, Rowan kicks the goal late, and all of a sudden you look through their record, and despite the fact they've spent so much of the season either first or second on the ladder, there was a few slip-ups there against the other title contenders. So losses to Melbourne, when Richmond were firing earlier in the year, the Sydney Swans in a game at Weeded Beach just a couple of weeks ago, that just for their own confidence, it'll do them good to be able to pick one off before the finals.
Yeah, absolutely. My question mark has been their backline. I think around the nut, and if they get Treloar and Dunkley back into that mix, they're nearly the best. Would you say they're the best midfield in it? I think they, in terms of their numbers and the people that they've got in there.
Well, they'll all have to be informed to be the best, but most definitely have the most.
They run deep, don't they? And then up front they've got Bruce and Norton, who are both going very, very well. And I'll tell you who I like down there, and he's only just come into the team, but adding quite a bit. He's young Waitman. I think he's bouncy. He adds that bit of spark. For a small guy, he can actually catch it. Plays almost, I think there's a game that we did where he's playing almost as that tall or lead up, almost small centre forward, wasn't he? But adds a bit. Mitch Hannon actually added a little bit tonight, which is good. And we've seen Jamara come in and kick his goal. Probably could have had two tonight. And on a dry day with sharp skills, and the pressure's down, he's going to fill his boots, you would have thought, at some stage. But he's still got plenty of work to do before he's dominating the competition like his other two big key forwards. But I wasn't sure about the tall forward line for him. Obviously, we thought Shaki was going to play down there, but I think it's stacking up at the moment. Bruce and Norton work really well together, and Ugelhagen's probably just that tall half-forward flanker, isn't he?
I think Norton's, we all know his talent, but just structurally, because he actually, I think, plays as a key, like a tall. Like, with respect to Bruce, I don't think he's that, get down the line, I'll make the contest, kind of Charlie Dixon.
Yep. Stand under a high ball, get bashed.
And bring it to ground, all that kind of thing. He's more of almost your lead-up, kind of Jason Dunstall lead-up, chest mark, kick goal. So Norton just then allows him to play to his strengths and fills that role and void of that tall. So, and then Jamara, again, if he continues to play, he's more of that third kind of tall, which then again he's that difficult matchup where he's young, yes, but his agility, his attributes are pointing towards he's going to be a difficult matchup in the future if they're able to have two of those players playing those roles ahead of him. So
the interesting part of that is going to be if Steph Martin comes back and he's available, given that they used to put English down there as the third key forward, whether they can go Jamara, Bruce, Norton and
Don't
English,
think so.
or whether they're one of them
they've got
drops
options
out.
though, don't they? So
Too big.
That's a good thing, yeah. So the only thing I could imagine, because I imagine if their defence and their forward, because they're not, even they made that run, like they've never been renowned for their forward pressure, their forward half game as such. If they were just able to add, not be the best, but just
top 5, top 6.
Yeah, top 5 or 6. Maybe they maybe are just based on weight and numbers. But if it was actually really evident in their style, they would be unstoppable. Like, so that's where Waitman comes in. He adds that spark, and the rest of the forwards. It's not really ingrained. But I'd hate to think. I know where they'd be and how dominant they'd be if they just had that forward half game, because they get ground position from their stoppages because they're so good around there. And a lot of the time they've got clean air ahead of them because they're so good around the contest and able to find someone with time and space. So if they're able just to lock it in their forward pressures, in an elite, it'll be a scary thought of where they can get. They can still add that, obviously. It's got some time to work on their game, but everything else is really solid.
You take the two worst players, or I say worst players, you take the two bottom players out of the Western Bulldogs team tonight, and they'll replace them with Dunkley and Treloar in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
So that's scary.
Exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, to add a bit more depth to that midfield. Jack McRae's about to join us momentarily as well. He's just an absolute ball magnet this year, isn't he? So 38 disposals tonight, 9 clearances, 7 tackles, 8 inside 50s, 9 score involvements, Lids. We love the score involvements. He's averaging 34 for the season, and he's gone bigger than that with 38 tonight. He's just had one game under 30 for the year. Off the SMS, Michael says, amazing that Viney could take that mark coming on from the interchange. And there'll be a bit to pull apart on the Melbourne front too. This is from Peter, no doubt a frustrated Melbourne fan. He says, Melbourne, same problem as the last 55 years. Bottom 5, not good enough. Can't tackle. Don't shepherd each other. Just bomb. And the appalling free kick count, 25-10. And then he's called out a few. Neil Bullen, Hunt, Jordan Rivers, Tom McDonald, invisible yet again. These will disappear now. Finish 5th and go straight out.
Wow.
That's a prediction from Peter.
Neil Bullen, I thought, was actually pretty good tonight.
And we haven't said that McDonald's had too many poor ones or back-to-back poor ones. Everyone's vulnerable and culpable of a lull and a poor one. It's just the ability in the back up, and the really good players don't allow it to happen back-to-back or 3 weeks in a row. So unless you're really out of form. So. No, is he a Melbourne supporter?
He hasn't said, but it sounds like there's a bit of frustration
really
there.
Disgruntled Melbourne supporter, or he just hates them?
It was the Bulldogs' night tonight,
a bit rough.
A 20-point win over the Demons. Let's see if we can get inside the Western Bulldogs rooms. Jack McRae standing by to join us on Grandstand AFL. Jack, congratulations.
Thanks for having me.
I'm not sure we've got a great line here, but we'll do our best to try and work our way through it and see if it improves. But that win tonight, where does it rank in terms of the ones that you've had so far this year?
Considering how we played last time, it was great to get one back, and obviously top of the table is the greatest achievement for the boys.
We might see if we can sort out that line, Jack, and we'll come back to you. See if we can reconnect and get
talking through a towel.
Yeah,
He's in the ice bath already.
A little clearer line on Jack McRae, but we'll get some reaction from the Dogs rooms momentarily. Full time here, the Bulldogs by 20 over Melbourne, and Adelaide by 19 over Hawthorn. Full time at Docklands.
Before hopefully we get a better line with Jack, just a quick one on the Dogs rucks as well. We spoke about English. Stephen Martin, is there room for him in the run into the finals?
No, I don't think at this point, no.
Well, you think they go better without it and play the smaller second ruck?
Well,
who's that going to be? So Shaki's going to stay in as your key post.
It depends who they play against too. So just literally have someone to fill the void for that. What is it? 10%.
Yeah. Well, we saw the Tigers do it. And Grigor claims that he's a premiership ruckman back in 2017. So you don't. It's a position that you can get a lot of advantage out of. But we also saw tonight that Max Gorn's had 57 hit-outs and they've lost the clearances. So it's very hard to judge. I'm not sure. I think what he can do around the ground can be okay, but I'm not sure whether you're going to get Steph Martin. I don't think it's going to be any better than what you would get. I don't know.
I think he makes, around like stoppages and clearances as such.
Makes them more dominant, doesn't it?
Makes them more dominant, but then has he, based his injury and his age, is he still as agile as he used to and can find it, and then potentially play that forward, because just having the ruck just to come off the ground, it's somewhat useless now because of the rotation too. So he doesn't have the ability like English to go forward and spend time there and have an impact.
Let's try again. Jack McRae in the Bulldogs rooms. Jack, congratulations.
Thanks, boys. You got me?
Yeah, we got you. That's much more clear. Well done tonight. How do you sum up that result?
Yeah, it was a terrific result. Obviously, we're bitterly disappointed how we played the last time 2 months ago. So to turn the tables, and it's a great reward for the work we've been putting in.
Is it important to actually get a win against one of the other heavyweights in the competition? Obviously, you've been close to these teams on the ladder, but haven't actually taken one of them down. Did that matter, I guess, leading into the final series?
Not particularly. I think, Geelong obviously kick up the siren, and we've been Port and Brisbane as well. So it's always good for a bit of confidence to have that template of a victory. But, if we didn't win tonight, I'm saying, we can't beat them in finals.
Jack, it's BJ here, mate. Well done tonight and your continued form throughout the year. Just on Josh Shackey, I think it shocked everyone tonight to see him come in. There was much talk about his selection and whether the Bulldogs would be too tall and then the conditions when he arrived at the ground. But his ability to go back, and we made mention throughout the call that he didn't look out of place, that's obviously been a long time coming. It's Bevo hasn't thrown him under the bus, and he's just said, mate, during the week, he said, you're going down back. Has he been working on that as a defender, as a key back, and is it something we'll see in the future?
Yeah, I think, he's played stints at the back, especially in the AFL, but he reads the play so well, he's a beautiful kick, so the way the back line work for us, they work as a group, and full credit to the other boys in helping him out tonight to really fit in, and he played a really good game tonight.
Jack, Brett's video, mate, well done on the win and the way you've been playing. Quick one from me, mate. I just wanted to know, how close were you to Cody Waitman's mark, mate? Geez, that was impressive.
I probably had the best seats in the house. I was about 10 metres off it, just directly in front, so if he was up in the air, I don't know what's going to beat that. So I think the tallest bloke on the field and skied up himself. It was a terrific mark, and he had some really critical contests for us tonight as well.
And Jack, just before we let you go, can you just tell Timmy English that Liz and I are really proud of his new haircut and we really like it?
I'll pass that on. He'll love that. Thank you.
Thanks, mate.
Jack, appreciate your time.
Thanks, boys. Cheers.
Jack McRae, Lids, the ABC Footballer of the Year. I'll get you to give these very quickly. We've got a wrap from the Olympics.
Quick. No special mentions. Just bang them out.
Sorry. The Olympics coming up. Bontempelli was the leader, by the way, before you give the votes. He was 6 clear heading into the round.
Drum roll.
Oh, look how lucky Beach isn't doing it. One, the man we just spoke to, Jack McRae, 38, 16 contested, 9 clears, 8 inside 50s, 9 score involvements, as you spoke about. 2, the best player on the opposition team, Clayton Oliver, 38, 25 of those contested, 8 clearances, but the best man, and now in front, leading by 9 is Marcus Bontempelli. 31, that good? 2 goals, 10 clearances, 10 clearances. Inside 50s. So very, very good and clutch.
3 votes, Western Bulldogs,
Bontempelli.
He's got 29 votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year after 19 rounds.
Yeah, the Brownlow.
I bet you McRae gets 3 in the Brownlow.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Back to wrap up shortly, a 20-point win for the Western Bulldogs. But what happened on day 1 of competition at the Olympics? Ned Hall.
Well, it's been a fascinating night in the pool. Some very impressive performances from the Australians. Not surprisingly, being completed by the women's 4x100 metre freestyle relay team. Dominant performance to cruise to victory in the second of the heats there and comfortably move through to the final. Earlier on this evening, 2 Australians were involved in dead heats. Elijah Winnington and Jack McLaughlin dead heated in the men's 400 metre freestyle heat, but they go through to the final as the joint first fastest. And in the women's 100 metre fly, it was Emma McKeown who dead heated with her Chinese opponent Zhang Yufei. Those 2 are the joint fastest into the semi-finals of that event, with Brianna Throssell also through 5th in the heat, but 16th fastest overall. In the men's 400 metres individual medley, Brendan Smith set a personal best and also an Australian and Oceania record to win his heat. He's the fastest qualifier for the final. Seabon Lee, though, unfortunately, despite coming second in his heat in the same event, he didn't make it through. And disappointment as well in the men's 100 metre breaststroke. Isaac Stubblety Cook the youngster who plenty of people had very high hopes for this Olympics, came second in his heat, but was 22nd fastest overall and does not progress, neither does Matthew Wilson. Results from earlier on today: Australia went down 4-2 to Sweden in the football. Sam Kerr scored twice but missed a penalty, and it all comes down to Australia's final group stage match against the USA. In the other team sports, Canada beat Australia 7-1 in the softball. The Kookaburras beat Japan by 5-3 in the men's hockey, and then Australia beat Canada 8-5 in the women's water polo. No medal for Australia in the men's road race. Richie Port was the best there, 48th overall. Richard Carapaz of Ecuador got a deserved gold medal in that event. In the tennis, wins for John Millman and Ash Barty and Storm Sanders in the women's doubles. And in the rowing today, standout performances in the women's and men's fours. Both those crews straight through to the finals, having finished first in their heats. Plenty more to come tomorrow. That's the latest from Tokyo.
Thanks, Ned. Looking forward to day 2 of competition into the Olympics, Lids.
Yeah, watching heaps of it.
Yeah, absolutely. We all are, of course. The game's underway in Tokyo. The footy tonight, the Dogs by 20 points over Melbourne. They go to top of the tree. They're 2 points clear at the moment on top. Adelaide by 19 over Hawthorn. It was West Coast by 8 over St Kilda. A 49-point win for the Lions over the Suns, and the Roos by 39 over Carlton. We're back tomorrow from 12 noon Eastern for Grandstand AFL Sunday to pull it all apart. Thanks to our whole crew. Adam back in the studio, to Jules, to Roger, to Beej and Lids and Maisie. Catch us tomorrow on Grandstand AFL. A big win for the Bulldogs.
On ABC Radio, it's Nightlife with Indira Naidu.
Welcome to Nightlife. Those returning from the football shortly, music icon Marsha Hines will share her current crop of favourite songs, an eclectic mix from the 70s to now, so make sure you stay for that party. But currently, we're with CJ Johnson, our movie guy, discussing the movie clunkers, when our favourite directors and actors do bad films. And I would love to hear what some of your shockers are. 1300 800 222 is the number, 1300 800 222. Come and join us as we eviscerate good people's bad work. All right, let's go back to the phones. And we've got Cyril from Randwick. Evening to you, Cyril.
Oh, good evening. Yes, I wanted to enter Frank Sinatra for his Western, Johnny Concho.
Wow, tell us about that.
Well, Johnny Concho lived in the shadow of his brother's gun, Red Concho. And eventually, of course, Red was shot and Johnny had to fend for himself. But I recall Frank being interviewed and saying that everybody has their Johnny Concho. It doesn't matter how good an actor you are. You will eventually have a Johnny Concho.
Well, that is very self-aware, isn't it?
Right,
but,
so Sinatra plays a gunfighter.
Well, he wasn't a gunfighter. He just lived in the shadow of his brother's gun.
Ah, right, okay.
So he would win every card game he ever went into, and nobody would ever touch Johnny because of his brother.
Well, I'm glad that he had such sort of self-awareness and such a sense of humour that he could say that everyone's got a Johnny Concho. The thing about Frank Sinatra is that when he tried, he was very, very good. And there were periods when he felt that his star was fading, and so he really put in an effort. And so he turned in great performances in films like From Here to Eternity and The Manchurian Candidate. And he was very, very good. But then there were periods when he really couldn't be stuffed. And he would famously, during those periods, only give you a single take. So there is a film called Ocean's 11, which was, of course, remade very, very well by Steven Soderbergh 40 years later. But the original from 1960 or thereabouts is appalling. And part of what's appalling about it is Frank Sinatra's performance, because he would only give one take. And he was like, use it.
use it or don't, but that's it. I'm moving on because, you know, I've got to get drinking with my buddies and we've got to do a show at the Sands tonight. And so when he was lazy, he was very, very lazy, and it showed.
All right, thanks so much for that one, Cyril. We've got Owen from Barowra. Evening, Owen.
Good evening, India and CJ. I wanted to nominate two, and the first one I want to nominate is a movie called Ghost Dad, and that was a movie directed by the great Sidney Poitier. Well, actually, I'm not too familiar with his works as a director, and certainly you can't argue he's not an acclaimed actor who's done some very good stuff. But this movie was an absolute shocker. It starred, and it should have been a success, it starred Bill Cosby, I'm sorry for saying that name, at the height of his popularity, you know, in The Cosby Show in the late 80s. And but everything just didn't work about it. But one of the guidelines for making a movie, if it's going to be a ghost story, you've got to actually agree on what ghosts can do and can't do. And this one kept changing the script. So one moment they say that Bill Cosby comes back as a ghost. He can't do one thing. And then the next moment, it shows him doing that exact same thing. And there was still of those inconsistencies throughout the movie. The dialogue was flat. The humor was unfunny. It was supposed to be a children's movie, but there adult jokes in it. And it just all around is a real rotten failure.
Well, it sounds terrible, Owen. Do you know a lot of Sidney Poitier's directing, CJ? Did he do many movies?
I really do not. And I mean, just thinking of this film, it's a